Celine Muldowney.
Mark Stan.
Mike Volpone. Reading the previous minutes,
I sent these out right after the last meeting. I didn't hear anything from anybody.
except for me, I sent you an email saying that I thought everything was fine.
Okay. Right. That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
So everybody is okay with these minutes? Do they need to review them again, or?
I don't remember, so the people. Okay. I make a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
I second that motion. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes. Cor-
Okay,
Any correspondence? Any bills and stuff that we
yes.
need?
we do have those. So I went and I picked up the bills today, and when I called, I wanted to call to double check something with Ellen, and she had received more bills with credits. And so I don't have a copy of all of them, but what she did is, because there were credits involved, it was all had to do with Northeast Nursery. They had bought stuff, it was the wrong stuff, they returned it, and back and forth. She did the whole top part, which was Northeast Nursery, and I'll get those bills tomorrow, but I trust that she did it accurately. And then the one bill from John DiFilippo that I do have. And actually, it turns out that the invoices, that I have two of the invoices right here from Northeast Nursery. All the other ones are the credits. There's the one and then the two. So these all balance themselves out, so.
What's the total?
The total is $19.79.
This is for,
This is for turning on the sprinklers, and replacing 7 sprinkler heads. That's John DiFilippo, so it's $700 to turn them on for the season. And 7 at $85 per head, turned out to $595. And then
the nurseries,
Northeast Nursery, pest warning stuff, sprinkler flags, and then something about a barricade. But it was,
I was about to say, until you threw something in there, I was like, what the heck is $1,200 worth, $1,400 worth?
that. The yard is bursting, no, that's AND .426 barricade. I don't know what it is.
Is there anything new at the field? I haven't been in the field once.
These came from James, though. James
So
gets.
it might be the fencing that we ordered, that was approved by the town.
And that seems even high number-wise regarding to the fencing we were gonna put, unless that's it. I didn't think it was gonna be that much.
This,
Want to table that, or?
yeah, we don't need to pay them right now, do we? Because there's nothing to pay, or?
Well, we've got 3 weeks, it's not like we're gonna miss a meeting, so it's almost like,
Well, but it's on this fee schedule, so the other stuff that I haven't, that does need to be paid, it's all on the same.
then let's approve approve this, but bring it back up in 3 weeks to kinda just get an idea, if we get more details.
We can, get in touch with James.
Just kinda say, hey, what's this? I hear somebody lurking through the stairwell.
Do we have to motion? Is this a motionable thing, or we just approve it?
No, we have to motion. Make a motion to pay the bills and address it in 3 weeks at our next meeting after discussing things with James and the DP, Department of Public Works.
I second it.
Any discussion?
Yeah, here's what it looks like. I don't know if why it's coming to us.
Good, I'm glad you caught it.
Here's the image, I'm not sure, it's a 18-0-4, 426% barricade. Let's see our specific, if all those numbers are how we wanna read it. And maybe something coming down the line. Or maybe 426 426, it could be, the barricade, that's what kills it. And like fertilizer with barricade.
Total number of
Yeah.
units is, there's 35 of them.
So this is
Could be-
good
it could be
fertilizer,
a
it's fertilizer.
Okay,
Okay,
so we don't need to.
no,
Yeah.
alright, so Mark, you just need to sign that, and then any other discussion? All's in favor?
Yep.
Aye. Opposed? Passes. Any more bills or stuff that you have on your hit list? Okay. Special committees, Mayor Field. Where do we stand with our fence? Do we know yet, or is that still?
The road fencing, they
Yeah.
were approved by the selectmen for
Yeah.
installment. James was there, so he is aware of it getting approved, and he's gonna order it, hopefully under this fiscal year. If not, it goes into next year, and install it, in a piecemeal between projects, so.
Yeah.
We have a lot of things on during the summer, and hopefully we'll get done before the fall season. The challenge is gonna be, and I've talked to both Sam about this, Sam Johnson being the ADA coordinator, and James about the corner where the ADA parking is gonna be, and I'll have a different update on that later.
The house, the field house. Last we heard, it was approved, so I don't know if, does anybody know if bids have gone out?
No, right at this juncture, town administrator is assembling the paperwork for us to review before it goes out, for an RFP. Usually there's a standard wait period to receive responses,
About 6 to 8 weeks usually.
and then they turn around, they'll give it to us if we wanna have a special committee to review the bids. We can do that, just one evening or one morning. If we wanted to invite somebody with a greater depth of expertise in this to sit down and say, yes, this makes sense, or now they're way over budget, they're not using. If we said, say, for example, if the RFP said, 6 toilets, and they come in using substandard toilets, and their bid is substantially lower, then we might say, but I don't know my toilets very well.
Well, hopefully Dave would be helpful on that one.
Yeah. Alright, old business. Canoe.
Canoe launch. The organization that I was working with out of Portsmouth, New Hampshire, to get a ballpark figure, haven't set any new numbers.
Did they send you old numbers?
Then any numbers.
That's what
To
it's not.
work with. There's a lot of work to be involving the Army Corps of Engineers, and a lot of this is procedural stuff, which is not hard. Conservation Commission. The materials they want to use are quite expensive, and I'm just trying to get an idea of what the total number is. The individuals who are most interested in this also said if this becomes problematic, there is a site that's owned by the state off of Route 1 on Mill River, and we could talk to the state. They will, if we were to go with this state,
In Newbury?
it's in Newbury, on Route 1, just
Yeah.
past the Raleigh line. Going towards Govs, there's a little drop
Yeah,
off.
I know where that is.
Yeah, it's on, so if you're going south, it's on the left, right, as you cross over the bridge, it's on the left-hand side next to, and I can't know, kind of, it's a farm or vegetable place right over the left.
No.
No, not on the Newbury, not on
So
Right
the-
across- right across from Govs.
right across, this is on the Mill
Oh,
River.
you're talking farther down, because I know there's another one down that we
There.
used it before.
Yes, and the challenge with that is it's not very good parking, a lot of portage
Yeah.
just to get there.
The one across from Gov's is also a lot easier too, because there is an off-the-road thing you can do.
Is there
so-
parking right now? Small.
It's small parking,
So
and that's
it's
why
not
this
much.
one at the recreation area
Would be better.
would be better.
Well, let's,
It's a work in progress, it may take
Yeah.
a year.
yeah,
And
I'd
this-
rather
this-
do it slowly and correctly than in.
And that's the thing, it's on our list, we're keeping it up, if there's anything comes up new, we're great, if not, then we're moving on, so at least it's still staying, constant. You had mentioned the ultimate frisbee disc golf.
Yes.
One of the poles you said was
One of-
rusted or,
One of the targets has rusted out at the bottom. It was listing, and somebody tried to prop it up, and then it was just safer to just knock it down, and it's underneath the field house now.
The other one's been checked?
I haven't gone out and looked at it.
Yeah. They haven't been out there very long.
No.
Well, they are,
Nick
they
Rose or
are,
something did it.
they are meant to be taken in every year. They're only secured by a lock. So they get inserted into the ground, and there's a little latch.
Pin?
And even a pin, it's a key lock. So I go in bolt cutters and take that out, and it fits in, and then you can move it in and out so they don't rust. But to go along with that, contact with the, actually he's a professional disc thrower. And he gave me, he walked this, I just couldn't make it. He walked it and he gave the positives of it and the negatives of it.
Of our site.
Of our site. And basically, kudos to the scouts for getting it started, but the layout lacks a lot of interest from the disc community because there's not a lot of challenges. You gotta cross a road. And what I would like us to do is work with a few of his team members and see if we can't relay it. As you know, some of the signs,
Yeah.
some of the targets are next to a playing field. So that means on weekends, during the spring, they can't be used.
Yeah, because you're in charge of the field at the time.
And during the spring, same thing. So the only time you could use it is during the summer. Okay. If you are able to use it during the summer, it's not very challenging in terms of obstacles. There's a real long fairway, then real short ones. So he would love to work with us and look at the site and see if we can't rearrange it, which is not uncommon on golf courses, moving the pins around.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
Go down lower, maybe talk to Triton, and this might be able to be incorporated into their physical fitness program.
How do you want me to say this,
As
input from professional
from consultant,
consultants?
if you could find out when you can make it, we'd love to talk to him. I think it'd be a great idea. One, have him walk the course or with one of us, whatever, and just say, what do you think, what would work, and then.
Well, yeah, I'd go out and we've talked on the phone and emailed, but the idea is looking back towards the path, towards Triton, maybe put in some of the targets back there, so we're not crossing a road, we're not near the fields, and there's some challenge to it. The repairs, he's gonna give me some numbers, because my guess is we've had to repair all the bottoms of, or should I just replace them instead of just.
Were they sunk into cement or were they just sunk into the ground?
It appears to be a, was it 12-inch diameter cement with a hook coming up. And
Things hooked
so
on
they
that.
hook in, and then they're tied into that piece.
What, is there like a bracket coming up from the cement? Okay.
Just the way that it's secured, that you can't just walk off of it. You have to remove it, and if you go to the site where that one was.
What are they made out of? Are they made out of some kind of, I guess they're not rust?
Well, they've been dealing with the winter seasons the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I mean, the board,
When
the
you have
walls,
a basketball
walls.
hoop in the ground, it lasts for 10 years year round. It's not made out of the same material?
No, it's gonna be a thinner metal.
Okay,
It may not have been galvanized,
that's,
because the idea was for
Because
them to
again,
be
they were doing
removed
this
every
on their own budget.
season,
And that's what you're saying, if they were removed each year, we wouldn't have the problem. That's what it would have been last, so.
So the idea is looking to promoting that kind of use. So I'd like to invite him out for a walk.
Yep.
Now that the weather was getting better.
When it turns into real June,
Bring some discs out and just
go right
talk
into
about it and
August.
see if we can't get something.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
The other part to it, it's if you've walked on the fairways or played it or gone to the field in Amesbury and walked their side or the one in Topsfield.
a friend of mine has played them both, so they're really, really cool.
You know, this would not be near that level. There's actually leagues up in Fort Devens and whatnot. It would be a good beginner's course, and that's what we could promote, it necessarily the tournaments.
Okay.
So when you hear from them, just let us know, and we'll put it, we'll get out there. I think it's a good idea, special meeting, someone that knows what they're doing. Basketball, you said you talked to Patrick?
Yes, Patrick and I will defer to the following meeting. We just didn't get a chance to get out there and mark it. Now that we have the stuff we can.
Okay.
And,
Maybe we should start the meeting out there, just to take a quick look on
Yeah.
26. Hopefully by then it's June weather, or at least May.
Could you guys at some point between now and then just lay it out and we can,
yeah, right now the soccer nets are out there too, right now,
okay.
because we moved the soccer nets for lacrosse the other night. So I just didn't know how long you wanted me to leave that out there. You want me to just leave it?
What my suggestion would be, stake it out, what you would think would be the total size.
Please add to the meeting that David finally showed up.
I had a grill going, a guy from some food company just delivered some food. I had to put that in the refrigerator. I had a puppy. So I put the puppy in the crate. I have to load anything in the crate.
Do you remember what we're recording to right now? Alright.
I think all the Byfield knows we have a puppy now. Anyway.
So I've heard.
We'll mark it out, and I never did follow up with David about your friend in Beverly with the
Still hasn't got
materials.
back to me.
So we didn't make much progress on it this month, but we do have a meeting in 3 weeks,
The 26th. Let's
which
make
I'm
a
gonna
virtual
put on
meeting.
my calendar.
What do you-
Oh, I have it on my calendar.
I saw when I was visiting, I went to a graduation party the other day, and place in Wyndham's got one down the street from their house. It is, it's like the one in West Newbury, but bigger. I mean, multiple courts, softball field, the whole place. I'm just saying, this is what I'd like to see. Have all this here. Would have been nice to do. So
So, so we'll stake it out when?
Stake it out at your earliest convenience, let us know. I suggest that we invite James as DPW and let his crew look at it and make sure it doesn't interfere with any of their work schedule. I would invite the selectmen at their leisure to take a look at it, just so that they have a better sense of what we're talking about.
and where we're talking about, yeah.
Before we go to them and they can make their suggestions, recommendations.
And if you're able to do that before the next meeting, then we can sit down and then discuss it next meeting and say yes, no, and then so we move forward.
This is second week with the disc golf, there was actually two. Ultimate is one, disc golf is another. There are
Okay.
two things. Can we go back to that?
Yep.
Ultimate,
This was disc golf. is what
Disc
we-
golf.
There's ultimate frisbee and there's also disc golf. Ultimate frisbee is the game, sort of like football,
Wait a
playing and
minute,
choose.
we talked about disc golf.
Yes, we did.
Now we're talking about basketball. Now we're gonna talk about.
Ultimate frisbee.
working with the different coordinators, they got frightened, I shouldn't say frightened, my words, not theirs. The cost is too high. Even if, with the minimum police detail and fire detail for any type of tournament, they just don't have the budget. These programs run on shoestring, they don't usually ask for much money from their kids. It's usually a high school team that will come together. Your supplies are, in many cases, basketball jerseys, a couple of discs, and a few cones. That's their budget, so they don't have the money to pay for a fire or police. So they respectfully said, we can't afford this.
So, is that for a tournament?
That is, yes. that
Another
is-
activity that would be available to the kids of the town.
Yeah, yeah, because there's not a fire and ambulance available for all these soccer things that go on every weekend, every weekday.
That is correct, and that's,
Difference.
I'm not sure, I don't wanna.
Between ultimate frisbee and disc golf.
No,
No,
no.
between needing fire and police for one event and not for while
It
lacrosse is
is-
soccer.
It is at the discretion of the respective police, chiefs.
Because normally on a Wednesday night, when those kids are out there, there's 400 kids in the field when I drive by, getting in. So,
Right.
So anyways, they being Dodson Ultimate Disc Association, still would like to see if we can't get something going up here, not just for kids, but for adults, which is on a new business I would like to talk about.
How many people are they talking about? Cause does that affect,
That's the determinant, I mean,
so if
If they were bringing, they wanted to bring in something like 12 teams,
Of how many?
usually 10 to 12 on a team. They would have, they had teams from New Hampshire, Vermont, Western Mass, Rhode Island,
So that's 100,
100% kids.
Mm-hmm.
it's
Yeah,
not that much.
It's not, I don't have enough information of what makes it a safety issue for the respective departments.
Should that something we should investigate?
Perhaps at a later time.
Okay, alright, understood.
Okay. But again, a new business, I'll talk more about that.
Yeah.
So we hit the, both frisbees, basketball, ice skating.
Ice skating. Back in the winter, we talked about securing the materials to create an ice skating rink up at the Central Street Fields. In conversations with and I think we should still do that, or the other option, I was talking to the people at the library, head librarians, and they said they've had that fantasy, that idea, they just don't have the resources. Their draw would be, they could set it up out back, kids could come in and on the ball field.
Yeah.
And then have the kids come in for hot chocolate, get a book, hang out, so there'd be a warming station and supervision provided during the hours of the library. We talked a little bit about skates in the library, and some of it needs to be fleshed out, but the concept is, look, we could host it here. And I don't think it's an either or. I think it could be both, or we could do one this year, one next year. But the idea is, geez, this might be a good value for our dollar. I know people have said, and I've talked to some people who put it up year after year after year. One person lives down the road, and you didn't get much use out of it. Yeah, but when we do, it's great. It's short money to be able to go outside and ice skate. The advantages of the Central Street location is there is fire hydrant, and we should have water at the field to keep it re-iced. If we design it properly, we can have DPW come in with the truck and blow it off. And it's open, visible, so people know that it's being used, easy parking, etc. Part of a winter complex, if you will. The library site would have supervision during library hours. People could go in for a warming station. Could do that at the field as well. Both would have a certain very nearby constituency versus putting it out in one on Plum Island, which had its own, and that comes with another story. An idea of where we want to put it. So both have their advantages and disadvantages. For the cost, I think a sheet, I forgot the total size, it's quite large, 75 by 30, arbitrarily, $900, and then the lumber. And it's pretty easy to assemble, and if it's on a more firmer surface, concrete or asphalt, we use one method. Over up on Northampton, they used the fence, and then the other side was open. Some people in the community use stakes or big L style brackets to hold it in place. Somebody was saying if you use a 2x12 or 2x10, the pressure isn't that great.
Yeah, it's gonna be stakes. It's, you use a 2x10 or 2x12, but it's gonna be staked at a certain distance.
Yeah. And we could do it. Short money, if we were to go forward with it, I would propose we talk to Mark Sullivan, who works with Triton Youth Hockey, come up with a schedule, and they could help maintain it. Because you do have to shovel it off and ice it down. I would be very reluctant to ask DPW to maintain it for us with their other responsibilities in winter. Or if we get the community involved, say, if you ice it, Tuesdays, open skate up here, and the other places no stick, and we rotate it, we find some way that people get to use it. I talked to a couple mothers with younger kids, would love the idea to be able to go up in the middle of the day instead of going up to Graff, spending some bucks, being pressured to go up whenever they want to.
Quick question, does anyone know if Governor Dummer still offers free skating to Byfield residents, because they used to?
They, to the best of my knowledge, they still do at 11 o'clock on Sundays.
Okay.
It conflicts with a lot of houses of worship schedule,
Yeah.
so you have to make that decision. It's usually like an hour open skate and then a little bit of stick skate. It's not openly publicized.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
So I was wanna see if this is what you want to purchase the stuff, I can come in with a. and
Well,
how
I thought
much.
we were thinking of doing it on the basketball courts, and kind of like, are we putting the cart before the horse or the horse?
Well, the question is, we have, once we get an idea where the court's gonna go, but I think, as Mark was saying, if there's alternate locations we can use, that's fine too. It's a question whether we do, because we don't know if the basketball court could take 2 years.
Yeah,
And this we'd like to try to get for next year and see if we can do it, just make alternate locations. You were talking, Plum Island, I know there was another story you said after that, but there are other locations we can use if we can have a couple of them.
Yeah.
And it's not gonna cost us a lot of money regarding to it, I think it's a good investment. Would I like to have it on the court? I think it's the safest and most convenient place, yes, because then you have everything right there, you incorporate them both together and it's done. But it's a question of how we can do it, but until we know where the court stands, we probably wanna look at other alternatives as well.
One mental model is, if we were to put it up at Central Street Field, you could put it in a location, and then once the courts are there, we can then move it to the courts.
It's portable, so we can, yeah, so at least we get it started, get them used to it, just saying, no, it's down, that's a very good idea.
Like the movie up there
Where?
on Central Street.
not as much as the library, but then it's access to get trucks onto it to
Yeah.
do a sweep. Because that's the only thing, I mean, once it's in and it's cold enough, you can skate, but you have snow on top, we need to clear that off.
Clear it in a timely manner. There's a lot of fine tuning to be had, but it's one of those, we have to start some, with any project, you have to start someplace.
Well,
and then
find out how much it's
from-
gonna cost to build it, then the question is where we put it and where we have access to do the things we need.
Right now, it's less than $2,000.
Each,
And
if
then-
we wanna do more than one.
The people that came in to talk about redoing the upper grade,
They've also, that was a question I was gonna throw into.
was that, part of that was to
No,
be able, no, cause they said something about putting in a fountain that would be removed,
In the winter.
so it could be frozen over for skate, I mean, that's down the line too, so we could still do both, but that would be a nice, that would be a great venue right
so
there.
that may trade up the other ones, if we wanted to do two, we only have to do one, because that would be the other one.
Yeah, there's no set on that, it's all set, you know, it just freezes
And it's not like it's deep or anything, so that was the concern that I know
Yep.
you had mentioned,
Yeah.
about going to the ponds or different things, that said, people fall in, you have to try to get it, they gotta fall, I mean, it's right across the street from the firehouse, they can be over there in 2 seconds, and it's not even waist deep in most cases, so.
and they've been doing the place in Newburyport for years, you know, that's all.
And that one has a fountain,
Yeah,
so it
and that one-
can't
Yeah,
freeze completely.
yeah, they shut that off, and then they do that winter thing,
I mean,
but I think,
the Bartlett Mill,
yeah,
I was skating on that as a kid,
yeah, you
when
can,
that was, when the fountain, we just turned the fountain off, that's all we did.
yeah.
In
But
the
it
winter
doesn't
time,
freeze around the fountain, does it?
within that far, I mean,
So-
6 inches over right there.
Is that deep?
I know people that have got to the bottom and wish they hadn't,
Okay, alright.
and on top right now, it can be used in the wintertime, but in the summertime, we use it for other events over there, and you can't use it more because of bacteria.
Okay.
So, it's gotta be pretty well frozen over, but kids were sliding down the hills and onto the
Yeah,
mountain for years. So. Inventory,
Dave and I are working on an inventory of properties that would and should fall under our
Is
jurisdiction.
this old or new?
this is still old,
We'll get more on it for the next meeting. There are some parcels that, well, that's part of old business, I guess, for example, Olga Way on, Island is space that the town owns. And the question is, how do we best use it, not necessarily the rec committee, but as the town. We had been storing some material there, the neighbors were not, appreciative of the fact. We've had it surveyed, so we know exactly where the meets and bounds are. It might be a place for a basketball court, it might be a place for a sitting garden, it might be a place for, but the idea is, as soon as we identify what is in our purview or jurisdiction, we can do some better planning and ideas.
Again, it's on here, and if we have updates, great. If we don't, then at least we'll keep going on with this stuff. And the trail update's the last of the old business.
Patrick was gonna talk to Chairman Walker about being on the committee. I have spoken to people at Triton and some people in the community that would love to sit on it and begin the process. I know Councilman or Selectman Chuck Bear is also very interested in engaging the Boy Scouts to help create the field.
So about creating a committee for this.
Well, creating a committee to identify and locate the location of the trail that would either initiate at the Central Street Fields, traverse through Triton property, continue through the easement that was granted to the town by the developers and the condominium association for Caldwell Farms through Governor's Academy. Most of the people there are all identified that they are for it. But we would need to, the town has an easement to go through the property on Caldwell Farms.
What about the half a dozen properties that are between Triton and Caldwell Farms? On F Street.
I don't know, I think, my understanding is that some of that is,
You know which
God's,
property?
yes, I don't know which one you're talking about specifically.
Between Triton and Caldwell Farms, there's a row of houses.
Yes. And Caldwell Farms, I believe, goes up, I can just double check on the assessor's map. But I don't believe any of that is owned by anybody other than the parties aforementioned.
It curves around and they butt each other?
Yeah. Triton has a real large, and Triton, when I talked to Sean about it, there'd be Sean and Bill Colbert, a track and a maintenance person. And then Govs.
Yeah, there's nothing, I would assume that it looks like it goes right from Triton, and then,
To Caldwell.
yes, well, I don't know, you're right, because those, I don't know what the property, where the property boundary is for those 5 houses or whatever. You're talking about Elm Street? Yeah, because it looks like, the back of Triton's right there, and then you have that land, I would assume that goes right around. Yeah, those spiders right there. I don't know, it doesn't look like,
Is there any lines?
I'll try, I don't think so, let me do this and see what happens. For some reason,
Because when I looked at, I didn't see any, and I just don't have the best memory right now.
yeah, no. Now, it looks like, the light green, I don't know if that signifies, I would assume it's, town property,
Yes.
light green would be, so, I think we own that, but, good call.
But again, what was conveyed to me was the parties that involved with the town of Newbury, Triton Regional School System, Caldwell Farms, Condominium Associates, and Governor's Academy.
Is Governor's good with this, or something we just keep talking?
The people I've talked to, Governor's very much on board of having that being the terminus or the start, and having a nice trail running through.
That'd be amazing.
That'd be something maybe you wanted to use as well, or,
What's that?
Would
Yeah, everybody.
so it'd be like our local cross-country course
Yeah.
for Triton, for Governors.
Or just a simple path for residents to stroll through, because I mean, we do have some space. It is in the critical environmental area, so there's a number of restrictions of what it can or can't be used for. According to the easement, it is a pedestrian way. No motorized vehicles, etc. But the idea is to link it up from basically the river. We could link up from the river at the Central Street resource area, along the marsh, through the marsh in Triton, and there's a lot of marsh area. Chairman Jeff Walker would be an excellent resource in terms of identifying the location with the least environmental impact and associated costs with it. So I will try to contact Patrick, see if he's delivered that, or direct one and post send it out.
Under new business now, it's pretty much summer use for Mantur, the programming and budget are the things that were listed here, we used previously, so, and we're getting feedback on, we talked about the theater for summer use, any of the tournaments or fields, or, we know the Byfield, Art Festival is being held 28th or something like that.
Yeah, it's right around the corner.
Yeah, across the street, no.
June 20th?
I think it's the week after that.
No, it's
Yeah.
June.
No, I'm just saying, but I think it's,
Pretty that close.
it's on the 26th. Yeah, it's probably the 24th,
Is
25th,
this new business then, or old business?
new.
June 23rd, 4th, and 5th.
As the weekend before our next meeting.
This is new business?
Technically, how much we went over the last time to say if it could fall under either, so.
So what are we saying about, what are we reviewing?
I just wanna make sure that any additional ideas towards summer use for Mantur Field.
Well, I think it's more than just Mantur Field. I think summer program is a bigger topic.
We'll have two categories, I have summer use for Mantur and summer program.
Okay. Yeah, when I sent those to you, the idea behind Mantur is the resource area is what are some of the additional activities that we could do to engage people during the summer. Is the concerts on the green, concert on the common, whatever you want to call it. The art director, Susan Densmore, when I've spoken to her about it, the school wouldn't have as much need for it as outside groups. But if we were to put in the stage, it'd be a short turnaround. It could be done. It could be done. Booking every Thursday night, whatever night, some type of performance and a variety of music. It's short money. A number of the people will do it just for exposure. Could be a local kid band. I remember, who was the band? Blue? I think some of the local kids band. They would play at another town property very cheaply just to get people out there. And I could work, or somebody could work with a scheduler and identify 5 or 6. If we did one a week, it's only 6, maybe 8 that we have. That's it.
Are you thinking of this for this summer?
We could. It would matter of getting approval to put the stage in, which is, I think on a good afternoon, we get most of the holes dug up and the footings put in the middle of the week, throw down the staging. And it'd just be a basic, I don't know what the size would be.
16 by 20 or something like that.
And that way, if we were to do stuff next year, that becomes space. Correct me if I'm wrong, there's some theater groups that would be willing to perform there, just for exposure. So one of their pantos or one of their other prescripted would.
I just have a feeling, except for like the Thursday night concerts, but those kind of groups are already
A lot of them are
scheduled
are
for the
booked.
summer, yeah.
Yeah, but this this is an idea how we wanna try and do it. And if we're able to put together some events for this year, great, but then we know if we can do this, then we can focus on next year, trying to get a better
Yeah.
together.
Is there any form of advertising, if we do this, that can go, I guess the question is, on a sign near the field to say, you know, Thursday night, is there some way we can advertise?
That would go under signage.
Okay.
And the paper. We can, talk to one of the editors who've done
People
that.
drive by that all the time.
Yeah, and if you put it out there on social media, something that there's a stage available and stuff that people wanna do it, and they can hook up to and stuff, I think we get some people in, and just,
What about lighting and stuff back there? Because we can't,
unless we do it earlier now.
it has to be, yeah, I mean, by 8 o'clock, 8:30.
Would it-
it starts.
My suggestion is that, from what the people I talked to, that we should have some kind of power going out there. That was the important part. And I know that some were talking about running a generator, but I heard that best to direct power from the building, did that, and it probably,
But do you have to double check with others and?
that's the only thing
There's
that I
some
was
people
thinking about,
back there
about
that,
sound.
I've contacted, Sam Densmore, who's one of the butters back there in that, School Street
extension.
extension, and I haven't heard back. We could do it more formal. I could call Wright, somebody could call Wright and just say, hey, we're thinking of this, what's your thoughts on it?
Because it's sound and lighting.
Well, I don't know about lighting. I think lighting would be more problematic than sound.
Yeah, and maybe one of those things that eventually we'll get to that point where we have to put lighting up, but then I think you're running, you might be opening up a can of worms in for maintenance. You know, if you did something that the sun goes down at 8:30 or whatever, gets dark by 8:45, it sort of constricts who's gonna be there, and what they're gonna be doing.
And I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer, I'm just trying to be devil's advocate. Because I am concerned about bugs.
Yep.
And I'm concerned about greenhead season, which comes right up that.
You have to say those bad words, don't you?
Huh?
You have to say those bad words.
I
don't
know,
you?
well, at poor lacrosse game last night, the poor girl had a tick on the back of her ear, you know, it's, those are big. And
I thought it was
ticks
a
are-
moving, earring, but that was a.
Yeah,
The,
no,
you know, the ticks are falling off the dog left, right, I've never collected
Yeah.
so many ticks, you know, so I'm all for arts, believe me, my kids did theater, and I'm just a little concerned about that. It looks like a great place, but there are challenges with it as well.
Okay.
I think that every backyard has a challenge this
That's
time of
true.
year coming on. And as far as we're Newbury residents, and so if you don't have a thick skin.
Well, yeah, we're not Kentipagarians, and this is a rarity to have bugs in the backyard. I think we've all experienced it. And how do we minimize it? There might be, working with DPW, ways in which that area specifically has been treated. I know there are some products that work with ticks and fleas that you can, applicant would just.
I'm thinking more mosquitoes,
Um,
ticks, you know, you could do a tick check after that.
But yeah, there are concerns, but the idea is, yeah, it's out there.
Yeah, the Byfield Arts, I think they run till 8 o'clock
Yeah.
or 9 o'clock, something like that. And with all those people around, there's a certain point around 7:30, people just pass around the bug spray.
Okay.
And,
And enjoy the music. And with that, the person who does the sound system there for that event works diligently to make sure the music is going in the right direction and scaling the sound and tone, so it's not a, for lack of better terms, Def Leppard type of concert where the music's just blaring. It's,
Yep.
can you hear it from Central Street? Sure. Is it intended to be observed and witnessed? No. And we work with, ask him to help consult the location of it. Sound system wouldn't be anything that large, it'd be a little time frame. And you're right, time of day, it might be a 6 to 7:30, an hour show, similar to what I see at a lot of bandstands. And we can have, the reason that spot was chosen as opposed to the fields is if we were to get seniors more involved, they could take the seniors' bus and park up on top, and they could participate without having to get off the bus. So what action steps should we be taking with that?
Any thoughts?
think the whole idea of putting that in is a great idea, and then on top of that, as sort of in the connecting trail, I would assume, that will end up being the walking / cross-country trail that goes, so it might actually work out really nicely.
So going forward, meaning what, do we have to,
Should we make the presentation to the Board of Selectmen and say we would like to do this? It's gonna cost approximately this much, here's the labor involved.
do we have to get approval from the neighbors first or after?
Well,
I think we went to committee with an approval from the neighbors first. It would go a long way to get it done, because you know the question's gonna come up. They're gonna say, have you talked to the neighbors, this is something that they are willing to do, and are they gonna have problems with it, are we gonna have to deal with this? Or have we talked to them before and said, yes, we've already addressed these people and this is their statement type of thing, so.
Do you agree?
It's my personal opinion.
No, that's
I-
everybody's their opinion, I'm trying to take everybody's opinion.
My opinion is that, and I know this sounds like an issue, but unfortunately this town doesn't have any sound laws. And so, which is unfortunate. So it's not like we're gonna be breaking any laws, but I think if we present it to whoever decides to use that space, obviously it's a play, we don't have to worry about noise. But if it's music, we could say that it has to be, non-electric at that point, no sound system up to, or after 8 o'clock. So it has to be acoustical after 8, if something goes that late. And then we'll completely get away from that, because I think that something like that will make less noise than the kids on the field, during the day, and I think if you have a restriction, you say everything has to be done by 9 or 8:30, I don't see with that, I don't know how everyone else feels about that, I don't think that would be a problem.
I think there's a couple things that need to be done, is make a proposal to the Board of Selectmen, in the meantime, approach some of the neighbors.
Yep.
And just talk to them about the idea. It's not like we're asking for a variance or approval, but as good neighbors, as
Yep.
their representatives,
Yep.
because we do represent them.
Yep.
What their thoughts are, and if there's significant concerns, with something that we can't work out, we can just not complete it. At least we can get on the selectmen involved and say, what's your thoughts? Because they may say, no, we have other plans.
Who would you talk to, what neighbors would you address first with that bill?
It's just that little, the two houses,
The Densmores, they live on the end of that street, and there's 2 other houses there, they're the immediate. I would go so far as to go to the road that comes out from Triton.
Yep.
I would go with Mr. Kelly and up
Towards the field.
towards the field house. I would be respectful enough to go to the people on School Street, from the corner house down to Birch Lane, and just ask for their opinion. That's quite, they are blocked from other people there, but as a courtesy, I would identify some of the people in there. There'd be 15, 20 people.
Yeah, I just don't see noise ever going that far.
Yeah,
I guess we could even, strange enough, we could see how sound travels in that area. That might be an idea too.
well, sound travels. I can hear Triton,
Oh, you can't?
where I am,
I can hear Triton on game days and
marching.
late and marching band.
Yeah,
But I don't see
Yeah,
it
that's-
being that loud.
Yeah,
No, it's not a
no,
problem.
no.
And what I'm saying, the music that I think that in the angst we would have, again, would not be,
I'm not even really concerned about the people across the street, but I'm glad you brought it up. I'm not concerned about them, but I was thinking more of the initial, because of where that's gonna be, there's that group of 5 houses that
Yeah.
pretty much encircle it. Those are the ones that I was,
and again, looking at, further design, and again, I am not at Gordon's College or Endicott College, who does the great lighting and sound systems around here, student, but if it was positioned so the music is going more than 90 degrees from the house, up that hill, it would be great if we had a vacuum towards it. Right now, it'd probably be curtains, but the music would be traveling in a direction away from where they are. And again, I think a lot of this is geared towards, is that to be used, intended to be used every day or every evening, and allow you just place.
Yeah, I wouldn't wanna scare people thinking it's gonna be Five Hill Arts
Every day.
every Thursday night. And it would, I mean, if you do acoustical stuff, you know, who would complain about someone playing a guitar?
It's only electric if we're gonna get into an issue with speakers and the whole thing.
Yeah, that's why I think there should be, you know, once we get that point,
Yeah.
that we should have some sort of parameters.
You know, some of this is just thinking next summer, if we were to do programming in that area, we would have it all ready to go, and people could plan it.
I don't know if you've noticed, I like to take it slow and steady and do it, instead of rushing, putting it together. and
Oh,
trying
and
to put it-
I'm just saying, if we're gonna put anything up, I wouldn't do electric this year, I would just try to get people up, so they can at least
Yeah.
start using it and get the word out.
Yeah, exactly.
Once we do that, then we have a better idea, at least what we're doing, because if we're not gonna invest in it, if we find out that there's actually no interest, or we're gonna start seeing resistance, then we haven't invested that much money into it.
And it's just a play stage.
Yeah,
And, yeah, you can't, I mean, it's nothing wrong with that either, it's not like you throw some
No,
chairs.
but they have one of those in Georgetown at the park, my kids used to play it.
It'd be real simple to book a couple
um,
of acts. So, my action steps is to make a presentation to Board of Selectmen of our notice of intent. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And then notify, get some feedback.
the budget,
As you know, we were allocated $50,000 for this fiscal year. I would strongly recommend that by the next meeting, we have a plan, how we might allocate some of the money, so that we're not just reacting to, that we are planning ahead as any department would do.
we figure right now, just based off of the things we talked about just tonight alone, you're talking $2,000 for a skating rink. You're probably gonna have to put the majority, if we wanna do a new basketball court, right there. You said, do we have any idea how much is sitting, I don't know, Patrick, have a check with Matt? There's 10 right there, and we paid,
We can get, I'm sure we can get a bank or something to sponsor some money for it.
Well, again, the idea is, let's sit down,
Yeah,
look
but
at
it's
what
like-
our expenses going forward are.
So, but now they're starting to send me, maybe they're sending it to all of you, the budget, like monthly,
Expenditures.
the expenditure, so I'm getting that on a month, so by the end of this month, I will have the fiscal year
do we get an idea what we're
of
spending?
what we've spent, and it's minimal, it's peanuts compared to that $50,000.
Well, I mean, there's $2,000 right there, we just did that, so,
How about, we were also talking, if we're gonna go forward on buying goals and,
And stuff. But yeah, the whole idea is, how are we spending our money so that we can judge if things are appropriate. It is what any department would do. Beginning of the year, here's what we project our incomes are, 50. We do have money that's in a revolving fund that we can access with
By
our
who?
approval, with the approval of the town administrator, and then going to town meeting. They tend to be for bigger projects, but the idea is saying, all right, we can encumber $20,000 by doing X, Y, and Z, and here's what we're gonna get from it. And it's just being a responsible board, committee to do that, as opposed to buy things, spend it, pay for it, that we're thinking ahead.
yeah, you gotta realize what's our annual expenditures, we know what our basic costs each year we have for the removal, the trash removal and other things that need to be done, the sprinkler heads, the seasonal stuff, both end.
Is that being redone? Are we getting Mellow back?
Yeah.
Okay. Are they there?
They're picking up.
Okay.
They started
I haven't gotten-
with this month.
Okay.
They're leaving
I
the two
didn't interrupt
containers.
you.
No, no, no problem, I'm just saying, but that's the one thing we need to know.
We're getting charged
Yeah, I have access to that, which we didn't have before, so
Yeah.
now we have a spreadsheet I can forward on.
If you could send that, please, if no one else wants it, I'd love it, but if not,
I'll send you, they just sent me one,
just so we have an idea of what we're looking at, so we can
do
say,
you want it?
here's what our expenses are for the year, so we know, based on what we had, the $50,000 plus the income we have coming in, here's a bottom line number, here's what
I
we're
don't
spending.
think there's any income.
We don't have any income.
We
We get allocated like any department, here's how much you can spend.
Alright, so the income just goes to them, and they just say, here's $50,000, that's what
Yes.
you're saying. Alright, well, we have $50,000, here's what our spend is, and then based off of that, we can determine what projects do we feel are worth it and can be done in a certain time frame with what information we can present to the town and the board at that time.
Alright, going back to Mantor, the use of Mantor, as we were talking. One idea is to, right now, there's nothing, no regularly scheduled activities. We do have the Byfield Arts, we do have 2 dates used by GPS for tryouts, or 1 date for tryouts that's coming up. The idea there's very little being used, and it's
He's got those 2 weeks for camps.
camp, okay. So there are some areas blocked off. It was brought to my attention, it might be a good idea to open up some of the fields to, and be some outreach in our part. What people feel about some of these other groups. It could be lacrosse, you gotta drop in for 2 hours every Tuesday night. Who are some of the other groups? Field hockey, ultimate disc, you can have it on these mornings. Here, it gives, let people know that this place is available for limited use, basically no charge, just drop in.
And that's gonna be the key thing right there, because as you heard the board meeting that night, people were wondering, do I have to sign up, do I have to pay for these things, and it's like, no, these are things we're gonna have planned events at.
So, but I, wondering, I mean, if people came to us and wanted to schedule that time, I mean, because part of it is to rest the fields as well.
Right. The mental model is not to use every field every day.
No.
It might be Sunday mornings from 8 to 10, ultimate frisbee, drop in, co-ed. Saturday mornings, the first and third Saturday morning, rocket club. I mean, they used to do rocket launches there, I don't know if people, or model airplane, or drone racing, just something to say to people, because there's a lot of places that they can do it. And here's a chance for us to say, it's free, here's your time. Most of these groups, be it the Estes Rocket groups,
Won't be any damage on the field.
there won't be any damage,
No,
but they're not gonna be able to
miles per
spend
lot.
$500 for the day. Or a rocket, if you have your model rocket, your drone, here's a chance in open space. It would take some talking to the neighbors about the drone, and set up our rules, but just open it up for people to use it and get people coming in on it.
I know that, I've talked to people about the frisbee thing, and they, a couple of them, they were like, yeah, that's a major thing, it's like a whole sort of
Yeah,
cult
that's-
following of ultimate frisbee,
Mhm.
and I mentioned the fact, and they were like, let us know, I'm really interested, so.
So the idea is set up a schedule, and it could be this week they're on field 1, next week they're on field 2, next week they're on 5, and just make sure it's moved around so there is not as much abuse. Open it up to,
But no whining,
no lining, just,
Yeah.
I would go so far as, you get cones, here's cones, bring your own cones.
Bring your own
So,
guns.
I mean, how many times have we've been on a field, did you drop a shirt or a mitt?
Yeah.
That's the out of bounds.
Baseball.
and-
There's your bases.
Yeah. But you don't need much.
No.
We always have fields that kind of.
Yeah.
You just find the right angle that works and stuff.
No real diamond, but
Yeah.
close enough.
Yeah.
If you're the youngest one in the group, you have to be first base.
Yeah.
You have to lay down flat.
Yeah.
Just the idea, and we could flush it out a little bit more, and then, it doesn't have to be every week, it may be, just reaching out to a handful of groups. We're here. Some people I know who have drones, it's like, really can't practice anywhere, that's,
Yeah, it'd be a perfect location.
yeah, it's advantageous.
And like dealing about like model airplanes is, they can be dangerous. They can be very dangerous.
And the scary thing
Story.
is, these things are extremely, can be very expensive, because
Yeah.
2 years ago, my son was scouting down at the island, and some guy lost it, 2 planes going up, and they hit each other, and he goes, yeah, it was $8,000 there. I said, excuse me? So yeah, they cross wires, the connections, and right into the trees. Yeah, and I was like,
See when that happens.
oh yeah.
It's expensive, hobby.
We need to get to this.
Yeah, that's,
Well,
that's,
actually, yeah,
Any more?
what actually, the signage stuff didn't get on the list. The sign for the field and other signage.
I thought we went forward on that, didn't we?
yeah.
We did, but there, the procurement procedure for this limited amount is what's called best business practice. Basically, you can pick somebody, you get a number, you just wanna make sure that that person's within reason, that they're not charging $7,000 and somebody's saying, I can do it for 2. I went to one sign company, they didn't respond after a phone call, so I'm not even gonna bring that up, name or whatnot. We had a bid for, we have it on our laptops, by, who am I thinking of?
Jen?
Jen,
Right.
Jen
That was-
Wright.
I thought we approved it last meeting?
Well, best practices and the procurement procedure that the town follows is that we at least look at other prices. Cause if somebody else is doing it
For
We
half
do
the
this-
money.
for $500, so I went out and I looked at, an individual bridge signs, over behind the fire department. He does a lot of stuff for the town. He had some good questions about the style. His was different than what Jen was doing. He was about 22, 23. He'd rather have one big sign and just plaques that you screw in and remove.
And Jen's was.
Jen was, do you remember how much?
30 something.
32, 33.
$29.91 for vinyl sided, 2-sided, not to exceed 3,200 was what we approved.
Yeah,
What was her actual?
$29.91.
that's just $209 less than we approved. If we got someone here that's $2,200, but a different setup,
So we're not, we got one thing approved, we're not comparing apples and apples.
no.
No, I mean, when you go out and do these things, people have their own ways, and it's a matter of, there's one sign company that I was told, don't bother looking at, because their signs, while, are quite inexpensive, they're not,
The quality's not there.
they are not lasting, would not meet your expectations. And so I found 3, and as I said, one didn't respond. His process was a lot more expensive, basically all PVC, and a much more expensive product, and a lot more labor intensive. So it's a matter of looking at the 2, and I don't want people,
Well, I mean,
so.
does he have a drawing?
He'd work out the drawing that we had, same thing.
Alright, so we have approved the amount, we haven't approved the company. So if you've got whoever can get us the information before the next meeting, we should lock that down, because again, for this year compared to next, financially, I'd like to at least, I think it would make sense for all of us to get that thing locked in beforehand. So we've approved the money, the
The
question,
whole point was to try and get it in this fiscal
This
year.
budget.
well, we needed it because GPS wanted it up.
We also wanted to get it in this last year's
Yeah.
budget, right?
Yeah,
So
and
it's probably not
you know,
gonna happen.
well, it's 3,000 out of 50, so is it significant? 6%. Okay.
We're at 5.
But the idea is, some of it was just getting, helping people understand that work is being done on behalf of the rec committee.
So GPS knows that we've approved the money, we're just getting to make sure we have the right
So-
sign down.
Their
We'll-
time
we'll-
frame came in one anyway, so.
And then when I talk to Stefano, and that's a whole other issue. The bigger issue right now is which company you wanna go to, and
Are they gonna look the same, or are we looking at two different products?
We're-
Because aesthetically, if it's two different products, I'd like to see what his product is.
Exactly.
I mean, I hate to reinvent the wheel again, but we approved
he
one.
doesn't have a graphics person to recreate.
And
Well-
Jen Wright did,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the one we saw, the thing, so.
So she put the money into that, that's probably, I don't know.
No, that's her, they do that.
That's part of doing business.
I know,
As you well do.
No, I totally understand it, but what, you know, some of
Is he using the same products or different products? Is it gonna look cheaper, better, the same?
we don't know, right?
Are there any examples out there we could look at, that you can't take
Yeah,
pictures of?
okay. What we're doing is not normally, I can show you stuff what it might look like. The end result might be different. Again, his suggestion was basically get a larger piece of product, a weatherproof piece. He would have it, it's laminated and then be spray painted at auto body shop, so it's a high quality paint job. And then do the wording and the symbol, and then instead of having the slats like we had recommended, so that it could be removed, and it might be a stop, and you just remove the plaque, put a new one in, and you put the stop back in. His idea I would do it and just have plaques up. So, and they get screwed in on both sides instead of one piece, so it'd be, the sign, it'd be two-faced sign.
So, I'm sorry. It's-
I'm a visual person and I'm losing.
Yeah, so we have this one thing that says Town of Newbury, and then we had slats that were double-sided vinyl thing. Now he's talking about doing a bigger sign and sticking slats on both sides.
And that's plaques, so it's
But I'm not so sure how does that bigger sign gonna look? Is it bigger than what's there
no,
right
it's
now?
using the same dimensions, we're using the same footprint that's already there. Footprint, the poles are coming up, so can't be more than, what's that, 8 feet?
To me, it sounds like the first one is visually gonna stand out more.
Okay.
I mean, with the slats, it'll be bigger. I don't know.
Yeah,
Can you draw what he's,
or can he draw something? I'm not talking about making on a computer or anything, but give us an idea, it's like, what are you using? I mean, we already have the specs from one. And
we're
it's a
talking
question.
about,
Rec committee goes to our
where
class.
is, we need,
I should pay attention in our class.
Do we wanna dial Alicia in? She says,
She
I'm at
won't
home
do it.
from work late, I'm sorry. If you wanna dial me, I can do it if you want to.
Something like that, as opposed to, that's what he's suggesting.
you're
Gonna
gonna,
grab it at me, as opposed to. That's what he's gonna,
Who said these meetings were well mannered?
So that's what we have now?
no.
That's the one that he's proposing, or?
no,
Okay.
that's what he's proposing, this is what Jen Wright.
Mm.
I like
I think there's a space here, I can pull that one up again, and then GPS and TLC and QLMA and all that.
And what kind of posts are we using on both sides here?
The steel that's currently in place, we're using the same exact footprint.
The same post, right?
Yeah.
Section. So they're just doing a sign.
Yeah.
And-
you know,
You wanna, what you wanna first start with?
Yeah, I like this one. I just like the balance instead of just this big block. If the cost difference is enormously different.
That's why we go out and do best practices. It's like the difference between, you know, buy a car. Well, I can get a Maserati, I get a Kia. No, I'm looking at a Subaru versus a Toyota. What do you like about it?
There you go.
I don't know, that's my opinion. What's your? and I'm
Exactly the
more-
same.
More than willing to be overruled, it's just my opinion.
No, I agree.
I agree too.
Okay.
I don't wanna be a yes man, but
I just, it's,
It just balances better.
I'm more concerned, probably from a business standpoint, saying, I've got someone here that can show us exactly what she's gonna do and how she's gonna do it and what she's gonna do. And I have someone over here that can do it less expensive, but we have no way of knowing what they're gonna do until the finished part's done. And I'm like,
How much less expensive?
it was about $700 difference, $800 difference.
It was 223.
Yeah, so, and this is 29, so $700-800 difference depending on how you look at it.
and I think that,
We didn't include tax on any of that, did we?
We don't have to.
No, we're
Okay.
I think that, now where's this guy located? Is he a local guy?
Yes, Bridge Street signs, you look on, I think, Gorham Street.
Newbury?
In Newbury, not the street, not Morgan, where the fire department.
Oh, okay,
is.
yes, yes,
One,
yes, yes.
one
Yep,
over.
yep.
Now where'd it go? Manure is. Good place.
If it was, you know, in town versus out of town, I think.
Yeah, but it's just, I'd like to see the product, at least have some example that we can look at to see what we're getting for it.
Yeah, when I saw Gen Rights, I knew, you know.
You had it labeled out,
definitive,
yeah.
So I think, you know, when we all discussed it, I think we liked that design, we sort of voted on that, and I understand what the best practice is. I think it falls within that framework.
Anything I do, whether it's getting T-shirts or something, or whatever, I said, I'll register to 3 companies and say, give me your best price, and I'm down to $5 a shirt compared to $4.44 a shirt. I'm like, all right, what kind of quality of shirt do you think I'm getting for that? And then go from there.
Here's my best recollection, not my best, here's, you don't wanna see times, do you? Here's what, in concept,
Yeah.
what the Generate company would do. That would be a little bigger, we'd have the different slats with the
I
activity.
think you can see it so
Yeah,
much
okay.
better than,
And again, that's another version of it, the space, a little bit of space in between.
Give us flexibility to adapt to things if we need to do, change things up. Do you wanna check out the latest magazines we get from?
No, I can't find them. You know, those are the examples I had. And again, if you go down Route 1, I'm thinking of some of those plazas that have 6 or 7 units, and they just screw in and
Yeah.
have a plan. So you understand what
You get an idea of just going down Graff Road or Scotland Road, it's got all those, you know,
Yeah.
because I take that road, I don't know what the name of the road is, but it heads towards the train station from Scotland.
Parker.
Yeah, and there are all sorts of neat signs
Mhm.
that are on the side there, so I had it.
Okay.
We're sure going by someone's office and say, hey, I said, you got something out front, where'd you get the sign done by?
Okay. So if somebody wanted to make a motion of what we want to do.
Make a motion that we stay with the current choice for the Generate, the sign for $29.91 is what you quoted, Celine?
Well, just go with,
Yeah, with the price, up to a budget of $3,200 is what we agreed on, which actually, we already did a motion.
we have to approve the vendor.
I second that motion.
motion to
Accept Generate's proposal for sign.
generate as vendor. Generate as vendor, right?
Yes.
Yes,
Any discussion?
Who seconded it?
David Ball.
Any discussion?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Passes. Alright. One big thing we've gotta get, work on tonight
Jen, I'll let her know.
is the permit policy that Celine and I worked on this past weekend and I retyped it up to get it as close to what we had. Correct me if I'm wrong at any time, not regarding to the edits yet, but what we did is we sat down and looked at the way the flow of the other document was and just kind of reshuffled a little bit of it. So you got to see the fields, the prior use, the permitted fields, then the application, the checklist, and then the use of the permit, so people get to see what was being done, so. I know you only had a day to look at it, but if anybody has edits, I can make them on the fly right now. David, do you have a copy?
I do not.
I do.
I have the hard copy, that's what, I got the soft copy right here.
Town of Newbury needs an end.
The Toad Newbury?
Right, you gotta go.
The town of Newbury.
I can have my wife look
Town
this up
of Newbury.
if you want to.
Oh, the next, oh, the first, I was looking at the cover page.
Yeah, so when we read through the other thing,
And then
it was
Toad. I'm
referencing
a Toad
things
person.
at the beginning
They should.
that came later.
Yeah, it
And
was-
so we,
Yeah.
that's why we revamped the
They just do,
organization,
yeah.
to kind of give it better flow. One little minor peeve is that usually when you have section one, you follow by A, B, C, D.
It's not one and then go to one, it's.
Or section A and then 1, 2, 3, 4, so if you wanna rename them A, B,
Okay.
sorry, it's just
No.
kind of a English.
I literally, I went down and just, so I started off with here, and, but that's not a problem, I can
Just
do
do
that.
it, section A, B, C, and that way you don't have to change all your numbers.
That's a business major, so.
D,
I got a lot of Ds.
E,
I haven't done that.
and F. Up to F.
So we're just going through the first paragraph. I would strike located at Mantor Field because earlier on or later on you say it's for others.
Alright, I'm back,
And related facilities, so just, yes.
alright, so where am I headed?
First paragraph. Third
Um,
line,
Yeah,
just scratch located at Mantor Field. Cause it could be anywhere.
so the use of the town's playing fields related to facilities on Mantor Field,
No.
by,
No.
Period,
on facilities.
period.
It's two sentences later, however legally, I don't know if however is,
That was the word that was used there.
I don't know, that doesn't make it, I don't necessarily like that. I would use the word legally because it's not by statute, they have to have it. I would use either authorized or valid issued permit. And it's not preference, it would be priority.
Yep.
Over any drop-in roof or any playing field or facilities. But it says of these, but it goes back to, when we cross out Mantor, then playing field, so I would just say at any playing field or facility. Or any of the,
Just get rid of these.
section one, part,
Section A, yeah.
section, well, we
Well,
call it.
whatever's on the hard copy, I can flip it over.
Yeah. It wouldn't be Mantor Field, it would be, or not Mantor Field House, cause that's not the name of it. It would be lowercase Field House.
What's lowercase?
It would just say that the field house at the Central Street.
Okay.
I would not use any additional venues added by the town.
Why? Because we're adding in these other locations, when we need permits for them, and should they be applying?
That's not what I'm asking. What I'm asking is, I'm making the proposition that we have jurisdiction over different property. Because even, and that's what we're including. And the way I read this is any additional added by the town. How does the town give us a responsibility?
So what do you suggest for wording?
Okay, instead of any additional policy covered, if you wanna use venues, under the jurisdiction of the recreation committee.
what we were trying to encompass is if there were future things like a canoe launch or a stage or other areas around town, we don't have to go back and rewrite the policy.
I'm agreeing with you.
So that's what we were just saying.
So he's saying what now is, instead of adding, he's just referring to anything here by saying venues under the jurisdiction, anything that falls under us is covered.
Okay.
And thereby by assumption.
So venues under the jurisdiction of the town, by the town of Newbury and the recreation committee, correct?
No, because there's two, by
Just
the
town,
town,
just,
by the recreation committee. Everything's under the jurisdiction of the town.
I
What
just-
we are, what
I have
is
that
the jurisdiction of,
in the refrigerator. Tastes
alright, so
good.
venues under the jurisdiction by the recreation committee.
of the
Okay, sorry.
recreation.
Oh,
Which I said right there. 'Cause I'm stupid. I was choosing right.
Section whatever, priority
excuse me,
uses.
I have, that's what you put that.
Recreation committee or other town department would have priority. For example, the town muster, fireman's muster, would have priority over other activities.
Recreation committee or town department,
Yes, department or committee. Committee or board. I would move Triton Regional School District to number 2.
No,
this is where we were both,
we were against that because why should the school have precedence over the youth sport leagues?
cause they already have the location if they need to.
They do.
Why would they use our fields? Triton.
That's why we moved them down in case it's a backup.
If they had an emergency like they did last year with
Right.
soccer.
So if they're in a bind, I'd rather help them out and say,
Yeah, but if the youth sport's there first,
And they're paying for the field, the use of the field, that paying customer deserves it before.
Mm.
I mean,
It's
I'm not
always
trying to
this-
stick to school, cause I'm
the
first one's
school
gonna
is
say school.
regional, the town and the youth sports leagues were always given the, was my understanding.
Because the town can also go to Raleigh, they can go to Salisbury, they have other locations need to. This is only a place for the Newbury Byfield, this is why they give the
that's
priority.
not correct, because the Triton Youth Soccer and Triton Youth Lacrosse, as well as Triton,
They
Pop
don't have any
Warner.
other venues, so we're back up for
Some of them do.
Triton.
I'm just saying, how often does Triton High School need our fields?
So
Not
then-
very often, so why does it matter if they're number 2 or number?
So if they're in a bind, if they need to use it for an emergency,
Right.
that we can accommodate them
Yeah.
that one day,
We're not saying no to that.
okay?
We're just saying that the
Ultimately, the rec committee gets to decide whatever they wanna do over and above this
Okay.
document anyway, so.
Well, as part of it, yeah, okay.
keep going down into sections.
We never include anything about the adult leagues, because they're not necessarily a community event, they're not a charity, you know.
It kind of falls into number 5.
They're not, I don't see that as such. They're regular, there's no difference in many of them between them and, Triton Youth Sports. One's adults, one's kids.
Yeah, that's true too. They could be local.
So we throw them down at number 3 instead of Triton?
No,
No.
Moving to,
4. You kicking out the
Community
charities.
event.
Getting out of those charities. Big one.
Charity can,
Do 6 there? Would that be?
oh, it's gonna be a 6, the question is, where is this going to?
I would probably do them, at the private regional school. Or, yeah,
They're a paying member, that's why it's the same argument.
so are charity and community events, so put / adult leagues. They're all part of the same, it all depends who gets there first and who reserves it. There's not one any better than the other, right?
pretty sure.
Well, I guess my question is, do we value adult leagues versus community event? So one tends to be a weekly or regularly scheduled event versus a one-time deal or an annual event. I don't know, but we don't have a vehicle to include them.
So what do you suggest?
David's already saying number 4 behind Triton.
Yep, I'd say
I
go,
mean-
yeah, right after Triton, I'd say between Triton and,
I mean, I'm
the
more
charity.
favored more towards the charity, so I would put them at number 5. Right now, they're sitting on a line right now with charity, community events, and adult leagues. If we're gonna break them apart, then it's a question of where do we wanna put them? After Triton, after the charity, or at the very end, which I don't think that should go there, but.
I would put them at number 3, I mean, I think Triton should be higher, but. I'm
the
done
next
with
one. The only reason I say that is that if it's something like, you know, a Newbury adult, whatever league.
I'm having a little bit of an issue with this whole, like, priority use of the field also depends on a lot of things than just what league comes in. It
Yeah.
depends how long they wanna use it,
Yeah, that's true too.
you know,
We gotta know, I mean,
so, I mean, like, cause we're, you know, Triton is a one-time thing, but adult leagues are more often, you know, weekly, and so it's not just a priority of uses of the field, we should also put a caveat in there, that time is a, you know, taking into consideration,
The amount of use.
so put either an asterisk or something at the bottom out of that section saying,
you know, this is a list, all things being equal. That they're all gonna use the time for the same amount of time, this is the way
based on
to
the.
prioritize the
on-
list. But things aren't equal,
But,
so.
yeah, well, that's number 3, the next part, but, do we just put it in as a placeholder for now?
We've got to ratify this before the end of the month, just so everybody realizes.
No.
I'm gonna highlight that adult leagues and then we'll know what they're.
Does anyone have any problem putting it after charity and community events, going to adult leagues?
I don't, that's where I want it.
Mark?
I would rather have them,
He wants them up too, he wants it behind,
well,
he technically wants it behind Triton Regional at number 3. And then if you put adult leagues in, would you put adult leagues in front of Newbury? The youth programs?
no, I'm not.
Okay, so your original thought was recreation, Triton Regional, Newbury Youth, and then adults? Is that what you're insinuating?
My priority is for recreation committee or other town departments, committees, or boards.
Yeah.
Then the area youth sports. I understand where people stand with Triton Regional. I don't know if I just don't know what their needs for art fields are at this point. I would change it if I heard more from Triton. Then I would put at number 3, the adult leagues, Triton, charity community events, and then private clinics and camps.
Celine, what do you
I
want?
would put them all on line 4, so we have all different opinions.
I'm gonna leave it where it is right now, and we'll talk about it that day, so we're gonna have to,
Yeah, we couldn't do a slash and adult league, I guess.
I have charity / community event / adult leagues, as it sits right now,
Yeah,
just so
that's,
place it,
yeah.
but that's gonna all depend on what we decide to do
Or
next.
we could even really throw things and do adult league / charity / community events.
Doesn't matter, it's alphabetical if I did it that
And
way.
that works out nicely for everybody, because of the load, it's all on line 4, but,
It's alphabetical at that point.
yeah, and that's, it's
All right,
up for debate.
we've gotta get this done, I've got a half an hour, I have gotta be out of here at 9:10, no
Gotcha.
later.
Section 3, number 2, all efforts were made to make the permitting process as fair as possible. Is that something we really need to say? Or are we that perceived as that unequal that we'd have to state that? I think that should be scratched. That there's a
I have no problem
presumption.
taking it out,
Yeah, I think we can go with
I just wanna make sure we have something in there, if no one's got a problem with it, I have no
We
problem.
took, yeah, I mean, just so you know, we did take stuff out that we.
Oh, yeah.
so,
I mean, look at Celine, you see, her notes are,
When 2 or more applicants on equal footing,
we went to town.
I mean, I don't know what you mean, what we mean by equal footing.
Isn't that what's listed in the document?
That's what was.
Well,
So they're saying that if you have 2 groups that have the same situation, or again, are in the same circumstances, the one is given to the one that has been, we're probably given the traditional in-season sport as defined by high school sports season.
okay.
That does make sense.
Because that was the one that all of a sudden, then it labeled all the things, and we just took that out and we did it with the
The
timeframe.
problem with that list is soccer's not, by the MIA in high school.
That's why we took it out of the list.
Is not soccer. Cause we have field hockey, field hockey in the fall, ultimate in the spring that are sports. So, part of the problem we have, the current setup basically excludes any new groups coming in and using the field because of soccer's having 2 seasons of it. I'm not saying to get rid of soccer, I'm saying we should find a way, if new groups would like to use it, that they have access to it for a short period of time. Because if I want, for example, Triton Youth Field Hockey, why can't they have access to these fields?
Yep.
They do, they certainly have access if they want to.
Now,
Submit an application and do like everybody else does.
if you look at the information provided, they would be on equal footing. But priority is given to those who've been there longer and have, basically haven't been kicked off.
No, well, no, because so soccer is only a season sport
In
in
fall.
high school in the fall. It's not a spring sport.
Okay.
So lacrosse couldn't have something in the fall season where field hockey would. And in the spring, lacrosse would have availability.
I understand that, but what, okay, so you have football using fields. I guess what I'm saying is there's a abstract way of looking at this. And that if you, so what we're saying is spring soccer could be eliminated. If there's enough organizations applying for ultimate frisbee and willing to pay. It's complicated. It's
To
very
be honest with you, yes, it could be. You know why? Because whoever got the information in first.
Is that, because that's not labeled here, is that it's first come, first served.
Well, then how we want to word it then? Because, I'm sorry, we can't abstract all this because this is a written document. If we did that, we'd be doing pages and anybody can take it. That's why one of the very last lines in it says, if you don't like it, go to the selectmen and voice your concerns if there's a problem. I mean, we've been very fortunate to the point that we've been able to accommodate as many groups as we have.
I mean, there's a finite number of time and space. So we can't preserve the regular users and encourage new users at the same time because of the finite number
Right.
of time and space.
If I've got a happy customer that's been doing things the right way and hasn't done anything and is representing the area well, I'm gonna give them the first shot. It's not that I'm saying no use it, but if I've got availability for it and they wanna do something, then we can
We'd love
talk.
to bring in new users.
We wanted to, that's the whole
It has to
point.
be-
I don't wanna do it, I don't wanna do it at the expense of
whatever the time
existing
is.
clientele.
Again, going back to unequal footing, I don't know what that means, because by the definitions that I'm hearing, nobody's equal. Because some
We're gonna
people,
just get rid of the equal footing. When 2 applicants apply for the same space, priority will be given to the traditional youth season sport. Or to a past user in good standing. What is the?
Yeah.
Because that was somewhere else.
Which one was it?
A past user in good standing.
It's in there. It's actually number 4.
No, number 5.
Yeah,
So you wanna merge 3 and 5?
Oh, that's my line, I added a line, that's why. What am I doing with number 2? I don't know before going father, but there's 2 more options.
Take it out.
The whole line,
Oh,
or just the equal
number 2
footing?
or number, oh, that,
they were getting rid of 2.
get rid of
completely.
equal footing.
Two's going.
No, he already got rid of
Me
2,
too.
so now that's,
So
No, I
3's
had
now
none.
2. Yeah.
So, right, just before I go any farther, so number 1 right now is organize the regular use of these fields.
Yep.
2 in my document right here says when 2 or more applicants.
Okay. I see
3
what
is
you're saying.
permits will be based on availability.
again, I don't mean to be a stickler, and I know we wanna get through this. But, for example, there's a rugby cult growing in this area that wants to move closer to the Newburyport, possibly use our fields. And they practice a couple times during the week and on the weekends. how do they get access to our field? Could they possibly use it Tuesday night and retail in season is spring, retail soccer, lacrosse, you can't use it Tuesday, because rugby's gonna use the field on Tuesdays and Saturdays.
Well, that creates a whole nother thing because of the way they schedule their time. They just block the whole field regardless of if they're using it or not.
The whole week.
My other concern is that I'm not an anti-rugby person, but they're gonna kill that field. Because the idea, these guys are down on the ground and hitting it, if this is an adult league, that, you're gonna have to rotate, you're gonna have to, huh?
It's a kid league.
Okay, well, then maybe not as bad, but if we could fit it into the schedule,
Yeah, question for you, when the soccer team schedules, they have a week, so they just assume they have it for the whole week?
As does lacrosse, as does, football.
Which is not a bad thing either because rain happens and schedules
Mhm.
shift. So
Yeah.
we can't,
we have to leave some blocks in
we
there.
have to leave time for
I'm
flexibility.
agreeing. I don't mean to make this harder than it is. But there are people who would like to use the field, it's like, how do we get access? It's like, put in an application. But by what was written and what some of this initial stuff is, it's equal footing
When would you think that these people would come in though?
in the afternoon, like it was an after, not quite a high school sport, a club sport,
But that's when soccer's there.
in the spring. Because soccer's not but soccer needs it here. Part of it is we need more space. Okay?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a high demand for the fields and we can't satisfy everybody.
Right.
I mean,
And we have to still rest the field, we still have to have some flexibility built into the schedule.
Okay.
I have no problems in taking some of this stuff out and working around, that's not the issue. I'm just trying to make sure of what we're doing here, because from a best practices standpoint, we talked before, if we've got a group that's coming in every year, and they're paying, and they're in good standing, and they're representing the school well, or the area well, I'm sorry, they're gonna get preference over anybody else right now, because we're not chasing them, we don't have any issues, and if we have the time to make it, to adjust for rugby, frisbee, whoever, then fine. But until we find a way to create more areas to do this, we're stuck and limited to what we have, and unfortunately, those times are taken up right now.
Okay.
Maybe they can do it in the summer, and we can look at it that way. Give them options then if they want to, when we're resting fields and rotating around. But I have no problems with taking out on equal footing, take that out, or am I taking the whole line out?
No,
When two more applicants apply for the same space, priority will be given to the traditional in-season sport as defined by the high school
Well, I
sports.
think that contradicts number 5. We need to pick either it goes with the traditional in-season sport or it goes to consideration to the sports leagues that have been a permit holder in the past. I don't know. It's a slippery slope with those two.
well,
Is that my printout, or is that yours who did yesterday? You take number 5
Fine.
from my document? I didn't have number 5, I got number 4. I haven't taken number out.
You already deleted number 2 and it shifted your.
I didn't just delete it to, it's still sitting here. These two sheets look like the second.
Yeah, this seems different than
for the record, this document originally came, I can say originally, the Newberry version that we originally got came from Danvers. And when I talked to some of the people there about this is some of the problems they're having. So this is not new and indicative of this area. People want to use field space, there's more and more activities being used. Less and less areas are available for pickup games. And there's, you know, how do you tell no to somebody based on the fact that if you prioritize those with more experience, these people will never get the access. It's sort of like trying to get a mooring. If you're in the waiting list, you may never get it.
Well, go see the 20,000 people at Schaefer State, at Foxborough Stadium, they've been waiting 12 years to get season tickets. Unfortunately, when we have supply and demand, we've only got so much area. What am I gonna,
I'm not disagreeing with you.
and I feel bad, because I wanted, I wish we had space to
What
cover
are you
everything.
suggesting?
That we get all the applicants and then if there's, we may not get anybody, so it becomes a moot point. But to tell people, no, you can't have access to us. If we could work out, like I said, Tuesdays, whether you can have it for a day, and Saturday, and some of these people, you have to adjust your schedule.
I'm not, all I'm,
Maybe,
how hard it was to
I know.
suck in there.
I know.
For 6 weeks, every other week, it was,
Then my suggestion, and this goes in for new business, or actually it's old business, because we brought it up, we need to start pushing Kent Way. Because that can give us.
but that's not gonna, okay, I understand that, but,
Okay.
okay,
We gotta stay focused on the document,
We've got-
yeah.
I appreciate, let's just focus.
Okay,
So the question right now is, am I removing the on equal footing, or are we removing lines, what would be your 3 on that sheet that, or you take the 1, 2 more applicants, or are we taking the one with good standing out? And my feeling is
my
like,
suggestion is on number 3, take out equal footing. And then leave that. Priority given it in sports season. In addition to, because that's the way it starts, it's if you're in good standing. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah,
so do you want me to just take the equal footing out and leave everything else?
I would just take out equal footing apply.
I did.
Okay, that's it. I would, in number 7, I would use instead of receiving the permit, issuing.
I also, payment is required prior to receiving the permit.
Prior to us issuing that. Before you can issue it, we need to have the money.
To issuing, that's fine.
And going on to the same part, access to the field or building is prohibited until payment is received.
Which line, you still in the same, 6 or you?
It's part of 7, a new part of 7, because people will,
Alright, so I have no future permits will be issued to a group or organization until outstanding fees are paid. So you're talking about editing the whole line or adding to it at some point?
No, adding after the first permit, before only payment,
Okay,
access, what?
to the field, wheelhouse, but I'm just saying the field, playing surface is prohibited until payment is received. Sort of sequentially, not necessarily the best.
so payment is required prior to issuing the permit. Access to the field playing surface is prohibited.
Until payment is received. Because in years past, they've had to chase down people for money.
Yep, and I guess, it was only saying, it was suggested or whatever, or now we changed it to required, because we're like, this has to be done beforehand, so.
Yeah.
Payment is required prior to issuing the permit. Access to the playing surface is prohibited until payment has been received. Only payment by check is accepted. No future permits will be issued to a group or organization until all outstanding fees are paid. Alright, number 7, any
How
problems?
can there be outstanding, oh, okay, never mind.
Previous. 7, anybody have any problems with?
Yours, that's, where we
That's
you're
get.
talking about number 8.
Sorry, unless the next one, and I'll say it make it easier.
It is the responsibility of the applicant to obtain the necessary documents. Because we're asking them not to do anything unless it's
Unless specifically
the
requested.
approved, yeah. They have to get the approved, it's their job to get approved, not ours.
So unless specifically requested by the applicant and approved by the town, departments and boards, it is understood,
The rest, okay, done. Next one,
what?
No, I didn't quite hear, but we'll move on.
because once this is done, I'm gonna resend it out to the group anyway, saying, here's the edits, because Patrick and, I want at least Patrick to read it, and then if Alicia wants to read it as well. The next one, any violation of the permit's terms, conditions, and/or limitations shall be grounds for immediate revocation of the permit. No refund of the permit fee will be granted, and future applications for permits may be denied.
I'm a little hard on that because, how can I put it? Violations occur all the time. Whether you catch it, I catch it, somebody else catches it.
Alright, so why don't we just say, a violation of the permits?
I don't have the
Uh,
language for that right now. But
A
If
I'm
I'm
gonna,
on-
I'm gonna highlight it in yellow, and then,
If you do a violation,
I don't know how,
no, cause that means any kind of, well,
because we're saying it becomes very subjective, I believe. I walk on the field and I see somebody smoking, well, that's a violation.
why don't we say, any violation of the permit's terms, conditions, and limitations, instead of shall be, may be grounds for immediate revocation.
That's
yeah,
better.
perfect, perfect.
Cause then it gives us the flexibility, instead of shall, we'll shift it from that. Next,
And then with that one, I would ask them to initial it, just so that we know that they read it and they understand it. There's a couple more that I think they should initial. Because I think a lot of people.
I say we just sign the document at the end, put a signature at the end of the document, so they sign that instead. Cause I
Well,
don't
it's
wanna have, I
not-
don't wanna have initials all the way through the whole document.
Wait a minute,
Well,
He wants to put in lines with the person's initials that they've read the section.
I just wanna make sure it's very clear.
it's very clear, cause it's gonna be, you wanna start babysitting that too?
Well, if you want to,
Alright.
the easy fix on that is just, bold that whole line. If you know, if you want it, if you're worried about being initial, if we bold that line or bold that statement, you know, the greater
And we
only
basically, you could put a thing on the application that says that they have agreed to everything that's in the
Well,
rules and
something like that, yeah.
Yeah, that's better,
Yeah,
I like that, instead of
just-
Rather
holding
than
everything.
having a baby, you know what I mean?
Well,
I don't, babysit's a harsh, I'm just tired, grab it.
I understand there's a lot here.
I mean, if only payment check is accepted, there's a reason behind that, cause that is the only way to do it, because people are gonna ask for credit cards, or they're gonna say, people paying me and I'm taking care of it here, or they want to come in cash, that's the reason why we bolded that. So at the very end, I'll add a line into
So
the end, or is it,
On the fee schedule, when we get to that, we'll put in a section, you know, that they, by initialing here, you are agreeing.
by signing here, you're agreeing to the terms of this agreement.
Okay, number 10, I don't know what this means.
What's it say, making sure I got the right
The
one?
name of town as additionally insured, I think it's a question, I mean, I don't know what we are covered by, the town. I think it's a question that we go to town council and ask them specifically what language they would want.
Well, what is the insurance thing that they sent us now, that their leaves are insured, or that?
Well, that's a cacophony of things. GPS they're insured up to $1 million. Something, one of the youth leagues is covered only during their time if you follow all these conditions. For example, with lacrosse, they're insured through US Lacrosse. If you get hit in the head with a ball, and it's not a NOxie-approved ball, US Lacrosse will not cover, their insurer will not cover you, and it becomes a town issue. So I would ask the town attorney to,
Well, this is gonna have to be approved by the town attorney anyway.
what does, well,
We're gonna have to get
Let's
this
back up
approved
for
with
a
somebody.
this one was not.
Well, this,
Those
then,
That's what I suggested a while ago. We do need to get them to look, her, if it's,
We
Ken
can have the
Kramer.
court choose the language on that.
yeah, let them choose a language.
because all we're gonna do is, we're gonna give them a draft, and then legal's gonna look it over and saying, this is what we came with, this is a previous document, here's the current document that we're proposing. Are we okay, what questions do you have, and let's get, because we need to get this taken care of, but the big thing that we need to do is the fee structure, because that's the piece that's, everybody's gonna be looking, not the fee structure, but the timetable, that's the big thing that everybody's looking at.
So,
But the idea is just ask town council to what kind of language they would like to see.
yeah, if you highlight that and just,
Yeah.
when you're turning it in.
And then number 12, any individual group make a written complaint to the board of selectmen.
1 second, I can put a comment here. I don't know why I do this, but I always type P out. Okay, let's do that. Alright, so,
Number 12.
12, make make a written complaint to the Board of Selectmen.
So, and can contact would be removed and then,
Yeah,
Make a written-
unreasonable, they're unreasonable, can make a written complaint to the Board of Selectmen.
instead of contact.
Done. Section D, number 4, whatever you wanna refer to it as.
One of my concerns is this doesn't, it makes things more difficult for the leagues if we have such late starts.
I'm sorry,
One of the reasons this worked so, we had minimal conflict this year is GPS could talk to, Over the Hill and, the others, TYLA, and work out their schedule. Because we basically approved everybody much earlier, they knew they had it. They are playing in, but their schedules are set, mid-February. Most of the scheduled meetings are in January. They go in and they get a preliminary schedule, they work, they go back, and depending on who you are, Over the Hill, they have 6,
so what do you
I-
suggest?
What, yeah,
this spring season, 1st of December.
So you're talking about the chart, or you're talking about the top section, the sessions are as follow?
oh, application process.
Yeah,
Oh, I
because
see.
again,
Okay.
the sessions are at the top, but the application process, you're talking down the bottom, the season starts, applications
All
are
right,
due.
I jumped ahead because I saw the
Yeah,
last one.
okay, yeah, that's what I was like,
Alright, so we're okay with number 1.
yeah.
I have edits too.
Oh, then please let me know.
Approximately April through the 3rd week of June or when the school year ends. That's what is,
Triton school year.
yeah.
Or when the school year is completed.
Blackout dates,
Wait a second. I can't type. Blackout dates, yes.
in parentheses, not included in season.
So,
These are not included as part of your season.
so under the blackout dates, you're talking about not included. What is it?
In regular season.
That whole,
And it's Memorial Day weekend, it's Labor Day weekend, and Columbus Day weekend,
Sorry.
not just the day.
Well, July 4th is not a weekend. Because unless it's got the
Just
button.
move the moves.
because
And people don't wanna do things on Easter. Easter could be in March.
Okay.
I didn't put the week of July 4th, because it says here, and a budding weekend. But the other
Is
ones
that
from
what
Memorial
moves?
Labor in Columbus do it, because if it was on a Wednesday, then you don't know which one you're gonna
Right,
do.
no,
So
I get it,
that's why we did the budding weekend. The other ones all say Memorial Labor and Columbus Day weekends.
because they're always on a Monday.
Yes.
Can we talk to our users about this,
But what,
about the blackout dates?
Well, July 4th and Memorial Day are already blackout dates,
Memorial Day or Memorial Day
weekend.
okay.
we usually, because it's
That's
not,
where he just had the tournament,
Yeah,
Memorial Day.
I know that.
Okay.
Okay, I'm just thinking in the spring, lacrosse doesn't schedule anything that weekend. It
which
does
weekend? Oh,
Memorial Day,
Memorial Day, okay.
and they're not in effect in July. Labor Day weekend, I don't know who is scheduled, but Columbus Day, I don't know if soccer schedules anything on that weekend.
Well, it's hard to say because, again, when they apply for the whole season.
Right.
So we don't know what they've had scheduled.
Okay.
I'm just assuming that things aren't happening on Memorial Day, they're probably not happening on Labor Day as well. And if they are, I think we should be able to, if nothing's going on, we'll let them use it, but we wanted to be able to maybe take back some of these chunks of times to be able to have other things, cross-country, or,
Someone do some documentation.
but if people don't wanna do those dates, then we'll
Fields the rest.
Hmm?
Fields the rest. Fields gets a chance to rest that time. All right, number
What do you
two.
think? I mean,
No,
just say it.
No, I'm thinking this through. I mean, some of it is moot because Memorial Day, 4th of July, nobody schedules anything anyways.
So shut down.
Memorial Day has always been the Pawtucket tournament, so nobody's ever scheduled
Right,
anything
and
anyways.
now with soccer, we don't know if soccer's coming back, but Memorial, and you're saying this is for the whole weekend?
Right, so
Well, I
it's-
mean, we can,
People wanna do it, we're just saying if the regular schedules, those are blocked out. If you want a special event, then you can request those, we can get it done then. That's what they actually
The
did.
only two that I worry about is Memorial Day weekend and Columbus Day weekend.
why
Lacrosse,
Memorial Day weekend?
because I don't know what Triton Youth Soccer is on that Saturday. If Memorial Day is,
Are you talking Labor Day or Memorial Day?
I'm looking at, let's take one at a time for my idle brain. Memorial Day weekend, I don't know, right now it's always been a tournament there. I don't know if the leagues schedule anything for that weekend. If soccer,
No,
You-
because there's a tournament going on.
no, I'm not talking about our field specifically, I'm talking about the leagues themselves. Because sometimes many of the leagues will say you can have 2 blackout dates. And many towns will say, I don't want anything scheduled for this day, this weekend, or this weekend. Triton soccer and particularly with lacrosse, we don't want to schedule anything for our home game the first 2 weeks of April because we probably can't get on the field. Other teams may have a band or something, an event on a particular weekend, so they black that out. So I don't see Labor Day, because I know most people don't do anything in that day because of transition in school and all that. 4th of July, people don't schedule anything on that day because there's no leagues going on. Memorial Day, I know lacrosse doesn't schedule anything on Sundays. I know, on Monday, and they don't do anything on that Saturday. I don't know about soccer, I don't know.
But
But
it's
if we tell them they,
traditionally already been a blackout date, so let's just keep it a blackout.
yeah, and then that will give us the
A blackout
ability,
date here, okay, I hear what you're saying, I'm not being clear, but okay.
then we have the idea of doing festivals during that period of time, correct?
Yeah,
It-
or
it-
hosting our own tournament.
Yeah.
It's not lucrative for somebody else to have a tournament, we
Yeah.
still have that whole daily
Yeah.
rate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because then we're not charging ourselves $5,000 to
We're gonna be
lease the
very
fee,
good,
we'll
yeah.
make money from the tournament.
Yeah.
I would like to try one tournament and see if it works.
Us sponsoring one? Okay,
Sure.
so you gonna do lacrosse or you gonna do soccer?
I don't know, I have,
Well,
If I had access to a field, if it was a baseball, softball field, then I could really go to town.
no, I've been in touch with, lacrosse, only because I know that more, but,
Mhm.
not just how to do it. And it would be for next year, not for
Yeah,
this
yeah,
year,
well,
it's just a learning,
Like I said, the month that just passed.
we may decide it's not really worth our effort, so.
And I spent the better part of the year and realized it took me forever to get stuff done for the one I wanna do for ALS, and it's like, I had to put it on the back burner for another year because this new report took longer to approve Cashman Park for me to use the field to the point that I couldn't get teams signed up. So I now know that I can start signing up now, lock fields down a year in advance, and then start working on it, so. The chart, unless there's a question with the wording, all completed permit applications shall be received by the Recreation Committee in a timely manner. Following is an approximate timetable for submission of a playing field and related facility application.
if we're gonna be making decisions, I like to have all the applicants by a certain time, so I have more definitive dates.
Okay, so we have, the
On the
application
second
period
page.
opens, so,
But it's not the language here, in a timely manner. It
Well,
must be received by the due date,
then just get rid of it.
Yeah. and then the approximate timeline, so it's the timetable. 'Cause this is definitive, where this is,
well, it depends. If February 15th happens to fall on a Sunday, we can't get it in, it'd be in the next day, that's why.
I'm not worried about that.
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, what we're saying is for the spring season, the application is due by February 15th. For the summer season, April 1st, and the winter season, July 1st.
But
Fall
by,
season.
by February 15th, there's teams that are gonna be using the fields have already set their schedule. And don't even know. This is why Over the Hill 40 got so pissed off, because they set their fall schedule, and at the last minute, we denied them access. That was the whole problem with,
Well,
Preschool.
was that in the treatment of the field and the alcohol too, so it was a kind of a combination there.
you know,
There
it,
was many different things
Yeah.
going on, which
It-
more than.
So to cut to the chase a little bit of this, in the chart here, so I'm looking, first line, application period opens January. Are you saying you wanna open that in December?
open it in January and close it mid-January, open it in December.
Alright, so,
Because they're putting their rosters together.
and I'm fine with that. I don't know enough about the soccer and all that, so I have no problems. So, application period opens spring season in December.
All 3 seasons in December.
All three?
And when is the application due by for spring?
I would say
Second, I've done the,
mid-January, because that's when the schedules start coming out. They're gonna be
So you're talking January 15th instead of due date, January 15th.
Instead of February.
Yeah.
Alright,
And then we can, by that time, we can notify them, and they have more flexibility of setting up their schedules.
Summer season by March 1st?
Summer is not as critical because there's not much
Okay.
going on at this point.
Fall season by June instead of July 1? I'm just bumping everything up 1 month, that's all I'm doing. Is that what you're talking?
Yeah,
yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay, permits issued by, the dates will all be set, are all set to there though. March 15th, or do you wanna move that to March 1st?
issues, well, again, some of these teams will be playing that next week, and they won't have
Well, they won't be playing on our fields on March 15th, next week.
We don't
Yep.
open until April 1st.
Yeah,
there's, from their scheduling perspective, they won't have time to make any adjustments.
so do you wanna make it March 1st, June 1st, June, and July 1st?
Sure.
Yeah.
Section E. This was taken, outside of number 6, was taken right from the document that we currently had.
I think 2B needs to go away.
Any questions, qualms?
What does that read?
Home address of participants.
We will,
Town of origin. The reason that was in there originally is a Danvers document, they had priorities listed by percentage of town applicants.
Easy enough,
So,
easy enough.
Take it out?
He just wants a home address removed,
and just
and
say
it's
town.
a town address of participant. Town or city.
just city. Just put name of participant and city.
Take B out of there and just.
Yeah,
And of residence. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, participants and residents.
town,
City.
city resident, so then they have to give us the address.
Players and officials. Okay, a copy of the organization's insurance certificate. Any organization, entity that accepts volunteers and provides activities or programs to children 18 or years of age. And I verified this like 3 times, so either someone's got it wrong or I really am that blind. Children 18,
If you're volunteering to children, to programs that have children 18 years and under, you need to be Cory.
oh, I understand, but I'm saying the way this reads, are programs to children 18 or years of age or under must provide. What am I missing
18
here?
years of age, get rid of the
Yeah,
word.
oh,
18 years of age.
By the department within
I would-
recommendation.
I would say volunteer, or any adults, because GPS adults are all paid, and they should be recorded as well, because you're working with kids under 18, or 18 and under.
So any organization that
Or gee, that accepts.
provides activities or programs to children 18 years and under must provide documentation on all volunteers /
Employees.
employees as required.
And this, I would suggest that it be signed not by the president, or it could be the president and the Cory officer.
Who's your code officer?
Everybody has to have a Cory officer. In order to maintain these files, there's a whole set of regulations that you have to follow.
Done. Next, once a field permit has been processed, no refund will be given. See section C of the notice of intent and application deadline. I think
Section C is, we changed it
Yeah.
to A 1, 2, 3, 4, and I can't, you see section C, notice of intent, so it's section D. Notice of intent and application deadline.
Okay.
because that's the chart we just did.
Yep, done.
Just going back to that, as part of the checklist, we talked about having them doing, not
Yeah,
necessarily
we talked
filing
about-
everything, because you're not gonna have your roster until, in some cases, to a certain point. How
Right,
does
so
he ever,
they're gonna submit partial applications and then follow up with,
is there any way to say that on this, to say that, yeah, this, you need to have this document in? You know, the notice of intent, and then the following forms can be filled in by a certain day,
I think the application is the notice of intent,
okay?
isn't it? I'm just trying to not add more paperwork, I'm
Right.
trying to keep it,
When I do application, and when I fill out forms, whatever they request, that's part of the application. Versus, I can have an I can have a notice of intent, which is the first, which was our old
but then
application.
that's almost undercutting this timeline. Cause we just pushed up all those dates.
If they gave us a document saying, we are interested in using the fields, we're gonna have about this many people, we're gonna have about this many kids. We don't know all of our coaches yet, because we don't. We don't have, so we can't do the core, we can't do the full roster, we can get a partial roster. Most of them
I
have.
understand where you're coming from,
Alright, moving on.
Section-
no, I'm not.
No, you,
Okay, never mind.
section F, it's the responsibility, so let me know either 1, 2, or what we have issues here with, if there's any questions, typos or whatever. It's getting a little punchy by this point.
Just going back to the other section, number 2, it says that once a permit is issued, is that gonna be a piece of paper, or is it to say you have access, what defines, again, permit? We say it's okay?
Where are you talking about? In your, in the application?
In section, use of permit,
Okay, alright, so you are,
number 2.
sorry, I thought you were down, I thought you went back up, you
Yeah,
said, you go back
yeah,
up.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Once a permit is issued, use of playing fields, facilities covered by such permit is strictly limited to in the permit. We usually, how do we notify them? Do we send them an email saying they've been done, or does it
Well,
take,
they've been handing everything at the last minute, so
it's,
so we don't have, so we can tell them that it's done?
it's, well, that's the whole other process, is that because it goes to someone else and then I do scheduling, I'm not the one that really approves the permit,
Who's that, the office?
once they get all their paperwork in.
that's sort of it, we start scheduling, but we haven't gotten all the information, so the idea you wanna consider is, we have a document that we complete, and then once we approve of it, that's when that document becomes the issuing of the permit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, the question is, she's saying is she's not the one that issues it.
And what I'm saying is, we need to be the ones who's issuing it. There is
So
no
you say
permit, there
Once
is no
a per-
permit right now.
once a
So we have-
permit, once a permit is approved,
It's not really that you're issuing a permit, you're approving an application.
The take is approved instead of issued.
yeah, we
So
say
you don't wanna
is
start
approved.
issuing,
If you say is approved,
Use the playing
Once-
fields, okay.
once an application
Is
is
approved.
approved.
yeah, once you take out the permit, once an application is
complete and
approved.
Complete
And an
and
application is completed and approved.
so we're not really issuing permits, we're just
No, we're
accepting
not.
permit.
We are approving an application. We're not giving them any documents.
And then at the end of it saying, yeah, so any conditions, limitation contained in the permit and can't be contained in the application?
Yeah,
and or the
Now
policy
we gotta
handbook.
revamp the whole thing again, so. Next time. Cause we have use of permit throughout the whole thing.
Field and facility permits may be revoked.
Unless we write something in there saying that approval of an application is considered
Your permit.
your permit.
Something like that, sure.
That way we don't have to go through this whole thing and say,
Or-
Yeah.
it's just a suggestion.
No,
Yeah, no,
it's
no,
like,
I think-
the only times I typed recreation committee in the town of Newbury in this stupid thing, I should have gone in the very beginning and just kind of quick definition. Newbury Recreation Committee, NRC, and then done NRC through the whole thing.
Yep.
Alright, so do I wanna do this as the very first line, do I wanna do it between 1 and 2? It's gotta be one of the two spots. Cause it
Where?
is on section F or section 6, use of permit. We need to put in a line stating what you just said, and I just lost it already. So I'm questioning, is it number 1 or is it number 2?
Number 1,
Okay,
or,
yes. Cause the first line is, it's responsibility of each permit holder.
or then put it as 2.
Yeah. Each applicant. Not quite sure what it means.
Yeah, I think people understand permit, it's not people about it.
So, approval of an application by the recreation committee is considered,
Hold it. Do I look like someone that types that fast? Is considered,
issuance of permit?
Yep.
Is that right?
done, and then that's number 1. Number 2 is responsible for each permit holder, so we've kind of described it.
Yep.
And then do one wanna go back to saying, once an application is completed and approved?
Or
Or do
once,
we-
once a
a permit.
permit is approved, is that okay? On right now, the line 2,
One's an application. It becomes a permit after it's an application. I'm not sure I'm making any sense right now. Okay.
So I'm just
No, I
saying,
don't
if
think any
we
of us are.
clarify number 1, approval of an application with the Recreation Commission considered an issuance of a permit,
permit,
we can use permit rest of the way.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go back to where I had the other one, so.
Okay.
and
Once
it
a permit is completed,
approved, oh, yeah,
it's completed and approved, use of plan, okay.
yeah, perfect.
Why is it? I was to say, you better not be doing that to me here. It's giving me like those highlighted lines like I've made a mistake, I said, it was once an application, now it's once a permit because of. Alright, anybody else have any things on 4, 5?
On number 5, we just want to reiterate, I would reiterate that when the fields are, I think there are 2 questions. When we make an announcement that the fields are closed, it goes on the town website.
That's number 6. While the Recreation Committee will make every effort to inform the
That's that
organization
one
of the
I'm
town.
talking about. Not everybody gets that, knows that it's there. There are some people, and I've seen a number of people on the fields in a rain walking their dogs, you shouldn't do it anyways, or learning how to ride the bike.
Well, then do number A, when there's, a sign that says that
Or, yeah,
the fields are closed.
yeah,
You
the
know,
soccer team gets there,
So the first one,
we're just trying to make it very clear for anybody to,
I agree.
So we're gonna have a sign that's gonna say fields are closed?
Yeah,
or field closed, use auxiliary fields, or something like that.
When a sign or when the sign?
When posting is,
Well, we've gotta be clear on that, and make sure that, realizing what posting they're referring to. Because right now, we don't even have that posting in
that's
place.
right, and we talked about that at the last meeting.
We gotta get it up, so I'm saying, until we do that, it's kinda hard to put this in here, but
Why,
Okay.
what are we questioning?
Just so
we're gonna put
that,
up a sign at the field, in case someone doesn't get it on the website, doesn't do something else, and we go over there and,
What does that have to do with while the recreation committee will make every effort to inform?
we're on the line before it,
Yeah.
5.
African,
yeah.
we're on the ABCD.
For number 4.
Number, this page right here, it's basically when there's a sign, when it's squishy, when it's this.
Yeah, so the first one should be when there's a sign, that should hold precedent of everything else. Because people don't care if it's squishy or not.
When a sign of the field closure is posted.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's saying when, it's not saying it's gonna be done now until we get it done, but it's like that.
And we could probably work something out with that new sign, too, also, put something hanging on it so that it says field closed.
Yeah.
All right,
I could do that.
what we got next?
Number 6 or 7, when, which they play in wet or unfavorable condition, cause damage, or excessive use. They've been very good about it.
Hold on, which one we at now, I think I'm pretty sure.
I have it as number 7.
What's
Field
the
permit
start?
holders, field permit holders
Okay, I got
will
it,
be
it's 7,
responsible,
yeah.
or excessive use.
Field permit holders will be held responsible for the repair of any field on which they play in wet or unfavorable conditions. Are you talking about adding something to that point, or?
Yeah, and cause damage to it. I wanna say wet or unfavorable or excessive use. So if they start practicing many more hours, and that's why we closed down field 3
Which
last
they
month.
play in wet or unfavorable or excessive use conditions and cause damage to the field. Occurs, the recreation may determine what okay.
I just wondered what that rate is.
Double.
Next question, anybody, you got any more highlights in there on yours that you're seeing edits?
Just a typo,
Where?
10B town.
Yeah, we took back to tell.
Get into the business of me.
But you have other edits?
I just had the sign offs. There's something about making sure people.
Well, again, the universal one at the end of the thing, so.
I'd like to be a little bit clearer. To require a police detail and or fire,
Where?
number 11.
Okay, so I'm my 12 now. All right, to require police detail, where we got,
Just put and or fire.
Under fire.
to require police and or fire detail.
Huh.
Next,
Going to the outhouses.
Yeah, we didn't know,
we took the Pop Warner from 2 to 1 because
Yep.
it was, so lacrosse, because it was 2-2-1-2, and we're like, Pop Warner you shouldn't have to have 2 at that point, so we just had, the soccer is at 2, lacrosse at 1, and football at 1, so.
Well, one of two things. Is it for 2 units per season, right, for soccer, or is that 2 each?
I can put it per season.
Well, here's my question. Triton Youth Soccer and GPS 2 units. So are they each getting 1, or are they each getting 2? For a total of 4 or 2?
I don't know, I can't tell you from the volume down there, I don't play, I haven't been out for
no, I
soccer
was
season,
told
so.
it had really 3.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, but I see this as they,
Why don't you
just
do
total-
A,
You could
Triton
just-
Youth Soccer, 1, B, North Shore Soccer, 1,
Why don't you just do 1 each?
C, Triton Youth
One unit
Academy,
each.
1.
but we do need to have somebody purchase or rent a handicapped.
Purchase a what?
Rent a handicapped space.
Just say one of these should be, are they more expensive?
Yes.
Triton
Yeah,
Youth Soccer and Triton and North Shore United Soccer, 1 unit each.
The other idea is we charge them and we just do it. And then it's done.
I think for that one, I think we should do it and just charge them. Because
But
I
we
don't
can't
want
charge them for that. I mean, we already pay them a fee.
Alright, well, we include, or we don't charge them, we include it in the fee, or we
That's
figure
what
it.
I'm saying, let's just do it all.
How much is it to do the porta potties?
No, I-
Anywhere between $1.25 to $1.50 for the regular ones, I think it's.
Per month? Or per day, or,
per use.
Yeah, per flush.
Then you have to make sure, where are you gonna get that money from?
We would increase their fee.
and take the emphasis off them having to do it.
And then part of it is a benefit to them, because a lot of times they forget to pick it up in time. Or, I don't have an
It's
answer
almost
to
like,
this.
it's almost like, I
Because
don't
ho-
know.
hopefully by,
Just
Sep-
like put a separate fee, just a line item.
We're handling it instead.
we're gonna handle it, and then once the bathrooms are
Take the
in
line, whole
place.
section, hold them at that line out now then. Until the fieldhouse recreation restrooms become operational. Or just change it. The recreation committee,
It's gonna be charging a set fee based on the number of kids, probably around, call it $100. So even when,
Yep.
when the, field house is in line, we can use that money for the pumping.
The set fee is, I think, right now, should be what these 3 units are divided by the number of
Okay.
applicants.
or
I
teams,
agree, but
groups.
do these will be picked up during this, for some summer months? Are we gonna have outhouses available during the summer month? Is that money that we're gonna, we rent it from April 1st to October 31st. We pick up full cost, they subsidize.
Let's hope this is the only season we have to deal with this.
Well,
Or it's the last one.
a question that came out is, if the field house is only open from 3 to 7, whatever the hours, and people are using the field,
They didn't keep that.
there's a lot of people who like using the
Right,
field
yeah.
houses during the day.
I
When
think
I
I'll-
get the- when I get the edited one,
Yeah, so I'll,
and when I get the edited one, I'll have Sharon, my wife, do it for she's.
All right, so I just wanna make sure, so until the fieldhouse recreation building restrooms become operational, based on attendance, the recreation committee will charge a set fee per team, per user.
Per applicant.
And then I'm gonna take all the rest of that out.
Maybe we should record.
Now that I would vote for. I had town pool for all that.
Hamilton had such a hard time trying to get there. Cool.
A sprinkler. A little wading pool for kids. Pools are really expensive to maintain.
Yeah, except that if you go to the mushroom pool.
See, I grew up in Beverly, where we actually had ocean, and the funny thing about Beverly was they actually paid for lifeguards. And it was,
We fit this in 5 pages.
it was a lovely thing. I think Newbury
Really?
did that too.
Yeah.
All right, I don't have connectivity now, but that finishes off. So what I would,
One thing about parking. But we,
I know,
They handicapped me?
cause that was one of the things that went through my head, like, there's still so much we have to talk about.
This- you know,
I just can't.
it's not us. It's
I'm supposed to
when-
be out of here 20 minutes ago too.
It's when somebody lifts a document and they don't understand some of this other stuff and how it applies here, it makes our job harder.
If you've got edits or questions on this, do not put them on the document. Or if you're gonna do it, track the changes so we know what we're looking at. And if you're not sure how to do that, just put a document down, use off of what's here, send it back, so either you highlight the areas,
Send
whatever.
it as a PDF,
Okay.
so that it can't be edited.
Well, I'm not gonna do that easy too, but I was just, in case anybody wants to look in to see how something goes, I'm fine. I just don't wanna be going back and forth saying, I have one set of edits new here, and we have to go back and correlate, so.
We never got to one of the other things
I
that,
know.
for
What?
sort of that, from new business about summer programming.
We never got to handicap parking either.
Handicap parking is Sam Johnson, ADA coordinator, and James Surratt are meeting and identifying a location. I've already talked to them where the best
It's
place
under
is.
review, I'm just gonna write under review.
And not only that, it will be done shortly. The other one was programming. For this summer, I was talking to people at the library, they'd like to partner with us. There's like 4 things, and I don't mean rush it, and some of it's time sensitive. The library, we can partner with their programming, hire 2 people to extend their program to include more recreational activities, and buy supplies so that we can offer services from 2-hour blocks, a couple, 3 times a week. So that kids in the area can go to the library, do some artsy craft stuff, play games. They would take care of the management, we supply money for employees, 2 kids, I got a budget of, it's like $6,000, less than that. They're on board with the idea of partnering and developing better programming, give us a chance to look at what programming is before we go full scale up at Mantor without stepping on toes. Talking about programming, the Council of Aging would love to do some stuff with us. They're actually meeting tomorrow or Wednesday. But one of the ideas was if we could rent, for example, the outdoor pool in Rowley that's run by the YMCA of the North Shore for an hour, hour and a half, once or twice a week for our adults to have pool time. That would be a very cost-effective, I believe, cost-effective use of our funds to provide programming during the summer for adults and get a sense of what they need. They would get back to us about other programming for the year, hence the budget. So if we wanted to do programming for adults, whether it's league basketball, et cetera,
We are meeting again before the end of the month, before the fiscal year, granted it's tight time there, but
it's then about the finances. It's about getting things in place as kids are getting out of school, getting summer jobs and getting promoted before, if we meet in 3 weeks, just before July, and people go on vacations, we'll have 3 weeks in July, maybe 2, maybe 3 in August, so getting things in place.
so what are you recommending?
I'm suggesting that we allocate funds and encumber funds for the use of renting out pool space for adults,
Right, you got what space?
pool space at the YMCA in Raleigh. They took over the old,
So they're looking for us to
Why
rent
is
those.
that on us and not on the Council on Aging?
because we're the rec committee.
But not,
But if somebody is 30 years old, they're not really in the Council of Aging. But if there are some adults who want to use the pool, so I'm not gonna say you gotta be over 75 or 85. It's adults
Okay,
friendly.
so
I feel we're rushing into it. I mean, I love the idea of it, I love the initiative, but I wanna make sure too, is like, here, we're asking for money for something that, and we're trying to jam it in.
I know we've been super distracted with having to do all the work for the field house,
Yes.
which is why all this stuff has been bunched up. But I agree, I have a real hard time being presented with something at a meeting and making a decision right then and there. We've never even
And we
talked
haven't,
about this
hasn't been
before.
scoped out, nothing's been, I mean,
So I'm not saying,
no, you just want more
I'm always
information.
saying no, but I mean, do we wanna explore the option more? Yeah, absolutely, but,
To vote on it tonight.
I'm
to say-
not sure that it's gonna be a positive yay or nay,
Oh, I know it's short term, some of it is, and we've talked about this before, meeting once a month with a lot of things on our plate, it's hard to get things done. And it's hard, and the whole process for some of these things, for example, the signs, it's taken months to get it done because we don't meet regularly, and here's a step we gotta take before we get to this step, to this step, to that step.
How many other, and then, actually, I'll save that comment till after we're done, I'm sorry.
So
that's item 24, I mean,
I would, okay. Can we make it a priority for the next meeting?
Yes.
well,
Okay.
That's a priority, but we'll be done, the edits have already been done, so we'll be sending it around, and if there's any questions or anything, that should be pretty much that should be approval to send to legal. That's all that should be on that. We can skip over some of the other things if we need to, if we don't have any updates, so.
there's and just hear me out, there's a part of me when we have 25 things on the agenda that we're trying to get done in 6 months, is just, we need to pick and choose our battles so that we can do them more thoroughly and push them through, and then maybe revisit some of the other ones, on a longer time frame. Because we have 25 things on our list here that we just reviewed for one location, pretty much. I mean, ice skating rinks, canoe. I'm not saying no to anything, I'm just saying we need to pace ourselves here.
We got, unless we get
That's my opinion.
twice, 2 to 3 times, I mean, again,
If other
David, I'm not
people
busting your
don't
chops,
agree,
but the three of us sat here to start off this meeting, and it's like, well, we only got Patrick, and then David showed up, and then we only have Patrick, so like, there's 5 of us trying to do all this together. I understand everyone wants to meet more often, but bandwidth wise, I'm pretty stretched right now, and this is tough.
it's just my opinion,
I
that's
understand.
all I'm saying, is that I personally would rather do 10 things really well than 25 things half-assed.
I'm not
So
disagreeing.
I think we need to come up with, and if somebody, maybe I can talk, anybody can talk about what they think is a priority, and then we come to a consensus from that.
I feel that my responsibility is when somebody comes to me in my capacity on the recreation committee and say, hey, Mark, can you guys talk about this? I'm obligated to present it to the group.
Absolutely, absolutely, I'm
Even
not
that when I
saying,
feel it's ready, or bring it out there and say, all right,
But
let's
there's-
talk about it.
Well, there's a difference there, there's a difference of discussing it, and there's a difference of voting and enacting something. And that's what we gotta make sure we have, if you've got something that's coming up, we all should be feel that same way. If
or
somebody
when
comes to
we
me,
tell, so when that constituent comes to you, you can absolutely say, yes, I will bring it to my board. But given the time frame that it's now June 1st and we meet once a month, it's highly unlikely that we'll be
I'm
able to
not
process
disagreeing.
that.
I mean, how often
But
does the
again-
board of selectmen meet? Once a
Twice
month, once every,
Twice a month.
Twice a month,
Yeah.
and sometimes more than that, depending on the schedule and what's the capital planning. They meet as often as necessary to get the work done. But I agree, I don't wanna be meeting every week or every other week. Somebody comes to me and asks me about something,
and if it's a time-sensitive thing, I agree with Celine in that situation where, yes, we're certainly willing to listen to that. It may not happen this year because due to the time constraints and other things we have on our plate right now, but we would certainly investigate this, and this
Well,
is something we can possibly.
I understand what to say to them. What I'm trying to convey to you is, people come to me and they'll say, hey, have you thought?
And
All right, let
I
me bring it
understand
out.
that, but you came in and started pushing,
If
vote.
the group says, hey, let's further explore it right now, we can. If we don't wanna explore it, that's okay too. And we put it off till the next meeting, that's all.
I think our next meeting would be good to pull the priorities and say, this is what our plan is for the year. And that's not to say, if something new doesn't come up, we can certainly look at it. But
I
look
agree.
at the 10 things, 15 things, whatever it is that we think we can get done in that time frame. Because again, the house took the big portion. This is a complete redo of things. I mean, we're taking the previous years and we're working with it. Can I make a motion to adjourn at 9:42?
I'll second it. Oh, you can second it.
Any questions? All's in favor? Aye.